Chapter 2253. The current Zhao Fu caused countless people present to look incredibly shocked. He completely surpassed what they could accept. How had he become such a terrifying existence? By now, everyone felt that Zhao Fu had surpassed Celestials and was an existence even more terrifying than Celestials. Celestials were already at the peak of this world, so what was an existence even more terrifying than Celestials? Even how Tian looked incredibly shocked, and massive waves crashed in his heart. He had personally witnessed the birth of an extremely terrifying person. He could now clearly sense that Zhao Fu's bloodline was no longer a divine bloodline, but an origin bloodline. More importantly, his bloodline was an origin initial generation bloodline, the purest kind of bloodline. Even though Hao Dao also had an origin bloodline and was quite pure, his bloodline had been passed down for many generations, and the purity of his bloodline could not compare to Zhao Fu's. As such, he could sense the might from Zhao Fu's bloodline. This was something that was incredibly difficult to accomplish, as his origin bloodline was already incredibly powerful. It was one of the top-tier bloodlines in the world, and even many celestial bloodlines could not reach origin bloodlines. However, someone had done it. This was the first time he had seen someone with an origin bloodline. Moreover, his origin bloodline was not an ordinary origin bloodline. It felt much more terrifying than ordinary origin bloodlines. Not only did it contain the bloodlines of the 7 great races, but it also contained the bloodlines of the 7 supreme emperor stars. It was understandable that he had the bloodlines of the 7 great races, as some people could use many bloodlines. However, there were differences in strength between bloodlines. Those people's bloodlines were naturally not as high-grade as Zhao Fu's. Zhao Fu's 7 great races bloodline was definitely one of the top-tier bloodlines, and it was incredibly powerful. As for the 7 emperor star bloodlines, Zhao Fu could not understand and felt that it was almost impossible. Fate stars meant that a person relied on powerful fate to cause a star to descend. That person could also use massive amounts of star power. This was related to fate. However, fate and bloodlines were 2 completely different things. Since that person had the Emperor Star bloodline, this meant that his descendants would naturally have Emperor Star power and would awaken a Supreme Emperor Star. This kind of bloodline ability caused the bloodline to become a bloodline that could shock even the celestial world, and it could be called a top-tier bloodline in the celestial world. This was because they directly had Emperor Star power, and it was very likely that they were born with a Supreme Emperor Star. Supreme Emperor Stars were incredibly rare and terrifying, and they were items for peerless experts. With the protection of a Supreme Emperor Star, they could avoid many dangers. As for how this bloodline had been formed, Hao Dao felt that when his body had been reconstructed, there had been 7 illusory scenes. These 7 illusory scenes were the source power of the 7 Emperor Stars, which was why he had the Emperor Star bloodline. This matter was really too important. Hao Dao felt that he didn't have the ability to deal with it. He only wanted to wait until he returned to the immortal world to report this matter to the Patriarch and Master and let them deal with it. This was the first time they had seen such a terrifying existence. If even Hao Dao, who was the most powerful and had the most terrifying identity, was like this, Tian Yu and Miao Lu were even more shocked. Their minds were quite blank, and their hearts were still beating quickly. It was the first time they had seen such a terrifying existence. In front of him, the 2 of them did not even have the courage to resist. Even if they had Supreme Emperor Stars, it would be useless. Tian Yu did not know what to say. Facing a terrifying figure like Zhao Fu, who far surpassed his imagination, he did not feel any dissatisfaction at all. Whether it was status, bloodline, or power, Zhao Fu completely suppressed him. Miao Lu could not help but feel even more admiration toward Zhao Fu, and she felt quite happy. She felt that Zhao Fu had done the right thing in taking advantage of her back then. To countless women, they would not have any complaints about having a man like this. All women felt that they were not worthy of such a man. The other women felt the same way, especially those who did not have very high statuses. They all felt quite fortunate to have been able to meet Zhao Fu. At that moment, the abnormal signs in the surroundings started to dissipate, and a massive Haotian mirror in the sky once again disappeared into the boundless void. The terrifying aura also disappeared, and the world once again became peaceful. Everyone regained their senses at this moment, and the scene was like a boiling pot. Too terrifying, simply too terrifying. Even the godly world's world-suppressing armament has appeared. I've never felt such a terrifying aura before. Even a higher being would have to submit to this aura. That's right, I never thought that the Haotian mirror would appear. It hasn't appeared since the immemorial war, and the entire heaven-awakened world has probably been shaken. Just what do you think caused the Haotian mirror to descend? I'm quite curious, but aren't you all curious? That's right, just what kind of terrifying reason could cause the Haotian mirror to descend? It's simply too terrifying. I'm so scared that I'm covered in cold sweat. Needless to say, it's definitely the second king of kings. After all, he had just awakened the god race's supreme emperor star, and then the Haotian mirror descended. There can't be such a coincidence. It definitely has something to do with him. That's right. It definitely has something to do with the second king of kings. Almost all of the terrifying things happening now are related to him, so there's no need to think about it. If that's really the case, then the second king of kings is even more terrifying. I wonder what's happening in the secret realm. I really want to know. I also want to know. It's possible that the Haotian mirror has given him some power, causing him to go through shocking changes. It's a pity that the secret realm's mirror has disappeared, so we can't know what's happening inside. Sitting on his throne, Zhao Fu could not help but give a trace of a smile. He had never thought that the Haotian mirror would suddenly descend and allow him to break through the restrictions of his divine bloodline and break through to the origin bloodline. It had also reshaped his body and given him even more terrifying power. Now, Zhao Fu and Tuo Baqing were both members of the origin race. However, her origin race was an extremely ancient race, while Zhao Fu's was only an early stage. Suddenly, a system announcement sounded out. The god competition has concluded. Rewards have been distributed. In front of everyone in the secret realm, different items appeared. Of course, the greater the items depended on points, and the higher one's points were, the more precious the items would be. 3 items appeared in front of Zhao Fu. An orb of rainbow flames giving off godly spirit aura, a golden crystal pearl, and a silver-white talisman paper. Chapter 2254. That colorful orb of fire was the god flame, which was one of Zhao Fu's goals. It could be used to forge a great desolate cauldron and give the spirit maiden the ability to devour other worlds' consciousnesses. When that time came, Qin would become an existence like the heaven-awakened world. Zhao Fu was quite interested, but there were too many unknowns. If he encountered a world similar to the heaven-awakened world, Qin's world would be completely destroyed. The heaven-awakened world was a great backer, and unless something unexpected happened, Zhao Fu would not leave the heaven-awakened world. The second item was a golden crystal pearl. It was not very big, only as big as a longan fruit, and it was incredibly transparent and pure. It gave off the might of a god emperor. This crystal pearl was called a god emperor pearl. Anyone who fused it into their body would obtain a powerful god emperor's constitution and god emperor's power. It was an incredibly precious treasure. Emperor-level existences were already top-tier existences in the world, and countless people had to look up to them. They were incredibly powerful, and this crystal pearl could directly give a god emperor's constitution and power, which was why it was so precious. However, Zhao Fu was not interested at all because Zhao Fu only had a source bloodline. However, he could give this item to his subordinates. As for who to give it to, Zhao Fu thought of Ericina. She had helped Zhao Fu a lot, so he could give this to her. As for Shun Xianhua, Yu Chan, and Mielu, they all had emperor-level bloodlines, so they did not need this item. The final silver talisman was as long as a palm and 3 fingers wide, and it was densely covered with divine runes and formations. It looked incredibly profound and complicated, and the talisman itself gave off a powerful aura. This talisman was called the Nine-God Demon Forbidden Talisman, and it was incredibly powerful and could seal higher being existences for a period of time. After looking at the introduction, Zhao Fu felt quite tempted. Higher beings were terrifying existences, and Zhao Fu was unable to defend against them. In fact, he would be crushed by them, and if he met them, he could only run. Sometimes, he would not even be able to escape. Now that he had this talisman, even if he faced higher being existences, he would have a trace of resistance and would not have to fear them. For this talisman to be able to seal higher being existences for a period of time, it could be seen just how precious and terrifying it was. It was a pity that it could only be used once. After looking through the 3 items' information, Zhao Fu felt quite satisfied and put them away. At that moment, Zhao Fu realized that he wasn't wearing any clothes at all. Zhao Fu didn't have such a fetish, so he immediately took out some clothes and put them on. Zhao Fu's appearance returned to its original form. He felt that his previous form was quite inconvenient, and even though it was quite powerful, Zhao Fu did not like it. The clear sky mirror had indeed given Zhao Fu some origin god power, and this origin god power had fused with Zhao Fu's perfect 10,000 god power, forming an even more terrifying 10,000 god power. One was Zhao Fu's 10,000 god power, and the other was the Hao Yian Mirror's 10,000 god power. One was Zhao Fu's 10,000 god power, and the other was the Hao Yian Mirror's 10,000 god power, which was creation god power. Its true name was 10,000 god power, not creation god power. Before, Zhao Fu had thought that its power could make a person a godly spirit, allowing them to become a godly spirit. It had even created an era of godly spirits, so it was called creation god power. However, after Zhao Fu had obtained the Hao Yian Mirror's power, he had obtained some information and understood that the Hao Yian Mirror's true name was Hao Yian Mirror, not 10,000 god mirror. Its power was 10,000 god power, not creation god power. A single type of sovereign power was already quite terrifying, and when 2 types of sovereign power fused together, it would naturally be even more terrifying. Furthermore, Zhao Fu's power of 10,000 deities originated from Hao Yian's divine power. Hence, the integration of the 2 could be said to be perfect. There was no rejection, nor any side effects. This was the strongest power that Zhao Fu possessed. Now that Zhao Fu could use the power of the Hao Yian Mirror and the power of the 6 Paths reincarnation, it would shock countless people. This was because of the godly world's world-suppressing weapons and the Yin world's world-suppressing weapons. For Zhao Fu to be able to use their powers, there was definitely no one else in the Heaven-Awakened world who could do this. Zhao Fu was the first person in history. Moreover, Zhao Fu's cultivation was now at the Emperor Heaven Realm. Back then, the Emperor Heaven Realm was a lofty existence that even Zhao Fu could not touch. In fact, he had been bullied by an Emperor Heaven Realm expert and could only endure it. Now that Zhao Fu had become an Emperor Heaven Realm expert and had the terrifying power of an Emperor Heaven Realm expert, he would not have to fear any Heaven Realm expert in the future. In fact, he could even suppress them. Zhao Fu felt incredibly confident. After returning to Qin, Qin was going to go through massive changes. Not only had he broken through to the Emperor Heaven Realm and become the ruler of all gods, but he had also resolved the matter of the Philosopher's Stone and the desolate Great Cauldron. Qin's strength would quickly grow in a short period of time, and the Fire Nation, Devil Horn Empire, Second Yolan Empire, the royal kingdoms in the inner regions, the alchemy world, and the outer world would no longer have to fear Qin and would instead trample them all beneath his feet. Thinking back to what had happened, Zhao Fu felt that it was a pity. Even now, he did not know what had happened regarding the first God Lord. That God Lord had given Zhao Fu a portion of his legacy power, but he had not given Zhao Fu all of it. Moreover, he did not know what the white hole at the center of the magic formation contained, and he did not know if the first God Lord's corpse would be there. If he could go there, he would be able to understand what had happened, and he would be able to obtain great gains. This was something left behind by the first God Lord, and no matter if it was his tomb or the legacy land, there would definitely be countless treasures. Moreover, no one had obtained these treasures before, so there would definitely be a shocking amount. Now that the god competition had concluded, it was impossible for Zhao Fu to enter. Moreover, even if Zhao Fu was given another chance, he would not be able to enter. This was because Zhao Fu had not done it, which meant that he had not received the first God Lord's acknowledgement. Zhao Fu felt that if it was Hao Dao, he would definitely be able to enter. After all, the God Lord's aura was quite similar to Hao Dao's, and there might be a great connection between them. However, Zhao Fu did not think too much about it, because the god competition had concluded and everyone would be forcefully teleported back to the stage. Zhao Fu flew down from the throne and came before the women. Facing Zhao Fu, the women could not help but feel quite restrained. This was an instinctive reaction. Zhao Fu's aura was simply too terrifying and high level, and it transcended everything in this world. Chapter 2255. Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he asked, "What is it?" The women came back to their senses and let go of their restraints as they surrounded Zhao Fu. Miao Lu lightly laughed as she said, "You're even more terrifying than before. I don't even know if I'll be able to catch up to you." Shen Xianhua also smiled as she said, "That's right. Husband, you can be said to be the #1 person in the Heaven Awakened world. No one can compare to you. Moreover, your potential is something that even celestials fear." Jiu Yun flirtatiously smiled as she said, "We're so honored to be Master's women. This is our greatest opportunity. If Master can recover in that area, that would be for the best. We'll be able to properly serve Master." Zhao Fu rolled his eyes at her and said, "The god competition has concluded, and I've finished my matters in the godly world. Now, I'll take you all back to my faction." The women all smiled and nodded in understanding. They had waited for this day for a long time and had long since expected it. As Zhao Fu's women, they definitely had to follow him back. Miao Lu asked with some concern, "Are we going back to the half-celestial world or somewhere else?" By now, Miao Lu only knew that Zhao Fu was the second king of kings and did not know anything else. This was what countless people were curious about. Just who was Zhao Fu, and where did he come from? Zhao Fu apologetically smiled. With Qin's current status, it was quite unpresentable for Miao Lu. After all, she came from the #1 faction in the godly domain, and her foundation was terrifying. Qin definitely could not compare to her. "No, you'll know after you go back. I might disappoint you." Miao Lu felt quite surprised. Zhao Fu was such a terrifying existence. Yet he was not from the half-celestial world. Could it be that he was from the celestial world? However, from Zhao Fu's tone, he did not seem to be from the celestial world. Where was that? Seeing that Zhao Fu was unwilling to say anything, Miao Lu said carelessly, "There's no such thing as disappointment. Anyway, I'm yours. Wherever you go, I'll naturally go." Zhao Fu smiled and pulled her into his arms. He smiled and said seriously to the tree hole, "I will definitely treat you well in the future." Miet Glaze's face became slightly red, and he felt a wave of warmth in his heart as he happily hugged Zhao Fu. On the side, Lu Li couldn't help but smile. Originally, her family's young miss hated Zhao Fu very much, but now, it seemed like she had completely fallen in love with Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu's charm was truly quite great, and there were almost no women who could escape his grasp. At that moment, Hao Dao gave a trace of a smile and brought Lan Lu to the side as he said, "Congratulations on awakening an Emperor Star, advancing your bloodline to an origin bloodline, and possessing such terrifying power." Everyone felt quite startled and came back to their senses. It turned out that Zhao Fu's aura was so terrifying that he had broken through to a divine bloodline and become an origin bloodline. That was a bloodline that reigned above divine bloodlines. They had heard of origin bloodlines in ancient legends, but had never seen one before. They did not even need to think to understand how terrifying they were. Among the women, Miao Lu's bloodline was only at the peak of the imperial bloodline and had not broken through to a divine bloodline. There was a great disparity between her and Zhao Fu's bloodline. Zhao Fu turned to look at Hao Dao and smiled as he said, Thank you. Hao Dao smiled as he continued to ask, I'm quite curious as to just who Sir is. I wonder if Sir can reveal some information. Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he said, That's impossible. Also, I don't think you've ever told me your identity. Hao Dao looked quite startled before lightly laughing as he said, I'm willing to use my identity to exchange for yours. Zhao Fu would definitely directly refuse. Hao Dao was a terrifying faction from the celestial world, and Zhao Fu could sense that his bloodline was an origin bloodline. Zhao Fu could not afford to offend such a person. Moreover, Zhao Fu's identity was that of a king from a small, desolate domain. If he revealed his identity, he would be seeking death, and he would not be able to resist at all. It could be said that if Hao Dao revealed his identity, Zhao Fu would be greatly shocked, and Zhao Fu would not dare to offend him. If Zhao Fu revealed his identity, he might be killed, so Zhao Fu would definitely refuse. Hao Dao did not expect this and asked, Then how can Sir reveal your identity, even if it's just a trace of it? Now that he had met someone in the heaven-awakened world who would shake the entire celestial world, Hao Dao definitely wanted to know everything about Zhao Fu, even if it was just a trace. However, Zhao Fu still smiled as he replied, I'm sorry, but it's impossible for my information to be leaked. Hao Dao felt quite helpless. Seeing that Zhao Fu was not willing to say anything, he did not force him and smiled as he said, Forget it then. Also, you don't mind being friends with me, right? Zhao Fu smiled as he replied, Of course I don't mind. Hao Dao also gave a trace of a happy smile, because someone like Zhao Fu would definitely shake the entire celestial world in the future. To be able to become friends with someone of this level was definitely a very good thing. Hao Dao continued to speak. What plans does Sir have after the God competition ends? I plan to properly travel around the godly world with Sir. Zhao Fu replied, I don't have such plans. After the God competition ends, I'll take them back to where I came from. Hao Dao felt quite disappointed. He had wanted to use this opportunity to understand Zhao Fu better, but Zhao Fu wanted to go back to where she came from. He naturally could not go with her, as it was impossible for Zhao Fu's identity to be leaked. How could he take him to where Zhao Fu was? In the end, Hao Dao could only shorten the time. Then we'll meet again if fate wills it. If you go to the celestial world and want to find me, you can go to the 7th immortal domain to find the Yuandao family. Zhao Fu naturally did not know what the 7th immortal domain was, but he nodded and smiled as he said, I understand. We'll meet again if there's a chance. Tian Yu listened by the side. He had wanted to find out some information about Zhao Fu, but Zhao Fu did not reveal anything at all. He did not go over to talk to Zhao Fu because he had never talked to Zhao Fu before. Moreover, he was currently talking and laughing with Hao Dao. Both of them were extremely terrifying existences, and if he went over now, it would be quite awkward. Suddenly, a massive wave of energy covered everyone, and everyone understood that everyone was about to be forcefully teleported out of the secret realm. In the next second, everyone else was teleported out of the secret realm, and those who remained in the secret realm appeared on the stage, including Hao Dao and Tian Yu. Countless people's gazes were gathered on the stage, searching for a person's figure. They could not help but feel excited and moved. They wanted to see that person, the second king of kings. The various experts were the same. Of course, there were many people who wanted to capture Zhao Fu and obtain all of Zhao Fu's secrets and power. They felt incredibly nervous and wanted to capture Zhao Fu the instant he came out. However, after everyone looked over, they could not find Zhao Fu's figure, nor could they find any of those women. Chapter 2256. The countless people who had been looking forward to this were all disappointed. At the same time, they felt quite strange as to why they had not been teleported out. Under normal circumstances, they would have been teleported to this stage. In actuality, when that power had covered everyone, Zhao Fu had given off a wave of 10,000 godly power to change the direction of the teleportation. He had also used his power to cover the women and teleport them to another place. The terrifying experts used their wills to search their surroundings, but could not find anything, so they could only give up. Boom, boom, Boom! Massive explosions sounded out as experts giving off powerful auras descended. There were not just experts from the Heaven Awakened world, but also experts from the half-celestial world that could not normally be seen. The massive might seemed to cause the air in that region to freeze, and even from far away, one could sense how terrifying that place was. The godly world's experts were not surprised at all, because even how Ian Mirror had come out. This matter was incredibly important, and no one would ignore it. The outer world's experts stood on a mountain and looked at the Heaven Awakened world seriously. That light has finally disappeared. It was so terrifying, and it was the first time I had seen such a terrifying light. Even the insects, who had the outer world's will, felt afraid. It's also the first time I've seen such a terrifying light, and it's the first time I've seen the insects look so afraid. I was also quite afraid of that light, and I felt that the white light had the same power as the outer world's will. Was it really that terrifying? The outer world's will is an existence that rules over the outer world, and its power surpasses countless people's imaginations. It can even casually kill celestials. Was that white light really that terrifying? That's right. Was it really that terrifying? Only the Heaven Awakened world's will has that kind of power, but that white light didn't have the Heaven Awakened world's will. What was going on? Do you know what that thing is? We've fought with the Heaven Awakened world for so many years, but we don't know about such a terrifying thing. I think we should go into the Heaven Awakened world to see what's going on. I agree. That white light's power is simply too terrifying, and we can't act rashly. Perhaps we'll suffer greatly because of that thing, so it's best to prepare early. In the battle between the Alchemy world and Heaven Awakened world, the Alchemy world had a greater advantage and was suppressing the Heaven Awakened world. However, when the countless rays of white light penetrated through the world and shone on their world, the many powerful alchemy factions were so frightened that they stopped their attacks and gathered together for a discussion. This white light is definitely not an ordinary white light. It's a white light that contains the entire world's source energy, which is why it can cause the elements to collapse. If we're found by that white light, we'll die very miserably. That's right. When I sensed the elemental collapse, I immediately gave the order to retreat. However, there was still a small number of people who were unable to escape. Their bodies disintegrated into countless dust particles, and they let out miserable screams. I wonder where that white light came from, but it actually contained the source energy of a great thousand world. We need to properly investigate this matter and see just what happened in the Heaven Awakened world. I think so too. We haven't been fighting with the Heaven Awakened world for long, and even though we have some advantages, we can't underestimate them. As such, we should stop attacking for now and gather information about the Heaven Awakened world. That's right, the most important thing right now is not to attack, but to investigate what terrifying thing happened in the Heaven Awakened world for giving off countless rays of terrifying white light. That's the most important thing right now. Then let's discuss how to gather information in the Heaven Awakened world. We need to be careful and not be discovered by the other side, or else things will become even more difficult to deal with. It was not just the people from the two worlds who were shocked. The Heaven Awakened world soldiers and experts who were fighting in the two worlds were also shocked by that light. What kind of light was this for it to be able to pierce through worlds? Everyone was incredibly shocked. Moreover, seeing the Chaos people and Gold Refiner people run away in fear, they felt even more shocked and excited, and they hurried back to investigate just what had happened. In the end, they heard about an existence that caused them to feel incredibly shocked and disbelief. It was the world-shaking second king of kings, the person with 7 supreme emperor stars. All of this had been caused by this person. Heavens, how could such a terrifying person appear in the Heaven Awakened world? How could we not know about this? This is an unforgivable mistake. That's right. That person has long since shaken the entire Heaven Awakened world and caused massive ripples. He's the most important person in the Heaven Awakened world, and yet we did not know about such a person. This is simply inexcusable. With 7 supreme emperor stars, that person is the number 1 person in the Heaven Awakened world. Our world has never had such a terrifying person before. It's simply too shocking. When I heard this news, I was also shocked. Just thinking about it makes me feel extremely terrified. Moreover, it's a terror that surpasses my imagination, an unforeseeable terror. It really scared me. Such a person's potential is indeed unfathomable, and he'll definitely be even more terrifying than we expected. Such a person is a massive threat to us, and we can't allow him to continue to grow. That's right. If such a terrifying person grows up, who will be able to survive in the future? When that time comes, we'll be doomed. We must kill him. We can't let him live. He's not someone we can kill just because we want to. Right now, the entire Heaven Awakened world is searching for him, but there's no news at all. That person has heaven-defying luck, and it won't be easy to kill him. I'm quite curious. Just who is the second King of Kings? He caused such a huge commotion, but did not reveal any information about his identity. Even if he's someone from the Heaven Awakened world, I greatly admire his abilities. Such a genius has never appeared in our world before. If it wasn't for the fact that many people have personally witnessed his power, I wouldn't have believed it. He's indeed an incredibly shocking person. Now, Zhao Fu's name had shaken both worlds, and all sorts of news continuously spread. Most people in both worlds knew about such a terrifying person. They all looked incredibly shocked. The ones who felt the most shocked were the geniuses who had thought that no one could compare to them. Now, they knew that there was a person who was far more terrifying than them. Chapter 2257. Zhao Fu did not know about any of this, and he was currently playing with the Golden Flower Ancestor's body. Half an hour ago, after Zhao Fu and the others teleported out and confirmed that there was no danger, Zhao Fu told the Golden Flower Ancestor where they were through the demonic energy. The Golden Flower Ancestor was one of the 7 wondrous flowers and was quite important to Zhao Fu. As such, Zhao Fu could not just leave her there and run away. Following this, the Golden Flower Ancestor hurried over. She had never thought that there would be so many women by Zhao Fu's side, and she looked quite displeased. She had bitterly waited for Zhao Fu, while Zhao Fu was having fun. As such, Zhao Fu decided to make it up to her. A while later, the Golden Flower Ancestor panted as she leaned against Zhao Fu with a red face. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "I'm sorry for making you wait for so long. Are you satisfied?" The Golden Flower Ancestor's face was red as she nodded and smiled as she said, "Husband, news about you has long since spread. By now, your deeds have already spread far and wide. There is practically no one in the God realm who doesn't know of you." Zhao Fu did not mind and smiled as he said, "It's nothing. Let's go back together." Xin Xianhua went up and hugged Zhao Fu as she smiled and said, "We also want it." However, Zhao Fu smiled as he rejected her and said, "Not now. I'll satisfy you when we get back. Right now, there are countless people looking for me, and this place is not very safe." Xin Xianhua did not continue and smiled as she hugged Zhao Fu and nodded. Following this, Zhao Fu and the others continued on their way back. After another half a month, Zhao Fu finally returned to the border region of the God Realm, where the Pantheon Palace was. Seeing that Zhao Fu had returned, the Jade Goddess and the others were so happy that they could not speak. They leapt into Zhao Fu's embrace and tightly hugged Zhao Fu, afraid that Zhao Fu would once again leave. Following this, they pulled Zhao Fu into a room. The room was filled with women's lewd voices. Goddesses kept joining in, such as the Star Goddess, the Sun Goddess, and the Earth Goddess and her daughters. A day later, Zhao Fu hugged the naked beauty with a flushed face and started to ask about the development of the faction and what had happened while he was gone. The various goddesses started explaining things to Zhao Fu. The Pantheon Temple was developing quite well and was now the most powerful place in this place. It had the area of 2 worlds and more than 2,000 gods. The Pantheon's population had reached more than 20 billion, and the army of 10,000 gods had reached 2 billion. They had completely grasped the power of the 10,000 gods and were much stronger than before. There were almost no forces in this place that could resist Pantheon, which was why Pantheon had developed so quickly. Now, there was no need for Zhao Fu to worry about anything. The Pantheon Temple could continue to develop at this speed. Zhao Fu was quite satisfied with this outcome and hugged the women as he said, "It's been hard on you all these days." The women all gave happy smiles as they said, "It's not hard at all." Following this, Zhao Fu got up and left the room. The various goddesses put on their clothes and followed beside Zhao Fu, their faces flushed red. Looking at the women's enchanting looks, the female attendants naturally understood what had happened. The female attendants all felt envious that they could serve Zhao Fu, the ruler of the gods. The female attendants did not dare to have any wild thoughts, as only the ruler of the gods could enjoy these goddesses. Zhao Fu's notice in the Pantheon Temple was similar to a religious notice. Not only did he want them to submit to him physically, but he also wanted them to submit to him spiritually. Because this was the god world, the god race's commoners could easily accept this. As such, Zhao Fu became a supreme existence, and he was one of the more fanatical ones. In the underworld's Yellow Springs kingdom, Zhao Fu did not have such great influence. Of course, Zhao Fu was a supreme existence, but he did not rule them mentally and physically like in the god world. After hearing that Zhao Fu had finally returned, the other generals and godly spirits all gave happy smiles, and the entire Pantheon Temple became much livelier. It could be said that Zhao Fu was the backbone of the Pantheon Temple, and after his return, the Pantheon Temple became completely different. Zhao Fu came to the Pantheon Temple and looked at the mighty statues within the hall and gave a trace of a smile. A small portion of the Pantheon Temple was already filled, and soon it would be filled with statues. After walking past these statues, Zhao Fu came to the center of the Pantheon Temple and saw a platinum-colored spear stabbed into a platform, giving off a faint platinum-colored light and a powerful wave of divine power. To Zhao Fu, this wave of divine power was definitely quite weak, as it had only fused with 1,000 or so godly spirits' divine power. Zhao Fu did not know how much divine power he had fused with, and he had fused with 24 over God's divine power and Hao Yan's divine power. Zhao Fu's goal in coming here was to send the perfect grade 10,000 gods' power into the 10,000 god spear. The 10,000 god spear was the Pantheon Temple's legacy item, and it was the most important thing in the Pantheon Temple. If Zhao Fu fused the 10,000 gods' power into it, the 10,000 god spear would become even more powerful and give the Pantheon Temple even more tributes. Perhaps the 10,000 god spear would become a world-suppressing armament, and Zhao Fu planned to split the god world, heaven awakened world, and underworld into the heaven, earth, and human realms. The heaven awakened world had the sealing heavens forbidden land formation and the human book, while the underworld had the sealing heavens forbidden land formation and the earth book. The Pantheon Temple still lacked some statues, and they could also set down the sealing heavens forbidden land formation. When that time came, the heaven book would most likely appear. The Pantheon Temple would rule over the entire heaven realm, and the 10,000 god spear was the core item of the Pantheon Temple, so it would naturally become a world-suppressing armament. This world-suppressing armament was similar to a nation armament in suppressing fate, and it also had world-destroying power. Apart from that, it could also stabilize the world and even control the entire world. Apart from the heaven realm having world-suppressing armaments, the human realm also had world-suppressing armaments, and the earth realm also had world-suppressing armaments. Zhao Fu had originally planned to use Qin's nation armament as his world-suppressing armament, but he found that it was not possible. This was because the human realm was the main world that supported the heaven realm and earth realm, so it needed something that contained the world's source energy. Zhao Fu's nation armament, the 12 metal colossi, did not meet this requirement. However, Zhao Fu now had something suitable. Now that Zhao Fu had obtained the origin iron and God's flame, along with the Tao-seeking stone, he would be able to forge the Great Desolate Cauldron. The Great Desolate Cauldron was forged by the Spirit Maiden, who was the human world's consciousness. She was the core of the human world. After the Great Desolate Cauldron was forged, it would fuse with her and contain source energy. It would most likely be the most suitable world-suppressing armament for the human realm. As for an underworld suppressing armament, Zhao Fu did not have anything suitable, so he could only wait and see. When that time came, the three realms would have corresponding world-suppressing armaments. Chapter 2258. Zhao Fu came to the stage and walked in front of the 10,000 God spear. He stretched out a hand and grabbed the 10,000 God spear. Zhao Fu's body gave off an intense crystalline light as a massive wave of divine power flowed into the 10,000 God spear. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as Zhao Fu's 10,000 God power continuously flowed into the 10,000 God spear, causing it to give off an enormous aura as it excitedly absorbed the 10,000 God power. The rainbow-colored light that the 10,000 God spear gave off became less and less colorful, but the light and power became stronger and stronger. Boom! A massive explosion once again sounded out as the 10,000 God spear gave off boundless light, forming an enormous pillar of light that shot into the sky. Clouds swirled as heaven and earth power continuously flowed into it. Within the pillar of light, the 10,000 God spear absorbed the massive amount of heaven and earth power and went through some changes. The platinum material did not change, but a crystal had condensed at the center of the spearhead, giving off resplendent divine light. Divine runes appeared on the spear, looking incredibly complicated and profound. It gave off a terrifying might that covered the surroundings as if it was the ruler of all gods, causing everyone in the surroundings to feel a chill. Boom! A massive explosion once again sounded out as the transformed 10,000 God spear gave off boundless crystalline light. The pillar of light became even more intense as it slammed into the sky, causing an even more terrifying wave of divine power to ripple out. Heaven and earth power once again gathered, causing the sky to become rainbow-colored and cover the entire Pantheon Palace, giving off a powerful divine might. Sensing this wave of power, the countless commoners and soldiers felt incredibly excited. They devoutly knelt on the ground and prayed to Zhao Fu. In villages, towns, cities, temples, rooms, and all sorts of places, the sound of prayers rang out, giving the entire Pantheon a solemn, sacred, and powerful feeling. It also made people feel like they had faith in it. Suddenly, countless flowers descended from the sky. These flowers had 5 petals, and there were red flowers, azure flowers, green flowers, blue flowers, and violet flowers. The rainbow-colored flowers floated down from the sky, creating a beautiful scene that made people's hearts tremble. After these flowers floated down from the sky, they fused into the bodies of countless commoners and soldiers. Waves of divine power spread through their bodies. Their physiques and powers were changing. Some of their ailments and fatigue were disappearing. Their physique attributes were also increasing. Their powers were slowly transforming into greater divine powers. Even their bloodlines were changing. Under normal circumstances, it was more common for one's physique and power to be changed. However, it was extremely rare for one to be able to change one's bloodline. It was something that could only be achieved by extremely powerful phenomenon fluctuations. The countless commoners and soldiers sensed the changes in their bodies, and their gazes became even more fervent. Their expressions became even more devout, and they knelt on the ground with their hands clasped together as they continuously prayed. The nearby factions saw that the sky in front of them became multicolored and gave off a massive divine might as colorful flowers floated down, making it seem as if it was raining flowers. Although the scene was beautiful, they felt intense fear. That flower gave them an immense sense of pressure. Divine power, bloodline, and spirit could all be felt. What kind of terrifying power is this? The countless factions looked at the rain of flowers in terror, not daring to take a step closer. They had originally been incredibly afraid of such a terrifying faction, but now this faction seemed to have become even more dangerous. Some factions felt that they could not afford to offend it and could only move away, while others planned on submitting to the Pantheon Temple. This place no longer had any faction that could resist the Pantheon Temple, so they only had these two choices. After an hour, the pillar of light dissipated, and the colorful lights disappeared as well. The world once again returned to peace. However, the countless commoners and soldiers still knelt on the ground with their hands clasped together, devoutly and fervently praying to Zhao Fu. These commoners and soldiers would now resolutely carry out Zhao Fu's orders, even if they had to die. However, Zhao Fu naturally would not want them to die. As long as they were his subjects, he would treat them equally. Back at the Pantheon Temple, Zhao Fu gave a satisfied smile and withdrew his hand. Now that the 10,000 God Spear had successfully transformed, its power and attributes would become even more powerful in the future. This was because Zhao Fu had fused with supreme power, and the 10,000 God Spear contained Zhao Fu's source energy. In the future, it would definitely become a supreme weapon like the Haotian Mirror. Husband, you haven't given us that type of 10,000 God power yet, Shun Qianhua said as she looked at Zhao Fu in anticipation. Zhao Fu's godly power was unimaginably terrifying. It was the most terrifying supreme godly power in the world. It was not just Shun Qianhua, but even Hao Dao, who had an Emperor's Star, would be moved by it. Of course, even though they could have Zhao Fu's 10,000 God power, it would not be as powerful as Zhao Fu's 10,000 God power. However, it would still be of great use to them. Hearing this, Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "I will now give you this power." Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as Zhao Fu stood on the stage and stretched out a hand towards the women below. A massive wave of 10,000 God power flowed out from Zhao Fu's hand, and Zhao Fu's palm gave off boundless crystalline light that shot towards the women. The women felt a massive wave of power enter their bodies, causing their minds to go blank. Their bloodlines and powers quickly became purer and purer. Sensing this wave of power enter her body, Mialu felt quite startled because this power had a great effect on her peak imperial bloodline. If she could continuously obtain this power, adding on Zhao Fu's fate, it would be possible for her to raise her bloodline to a divine bloodline. When that time came, she would also have an early-stage divine bloodline. Mialu could not help but feel excited. After she obtained an early-stage divine bloodline, her family's bloodline would be affected by her, and those with pure family bloodlines would receive great benefits. Not only would their power stats increase, but it would also be easier for their bloodlines to rise to divine bloodlines. After all, she had already broken through the divine bloodline restriction, and her family no longer had this restriction. This restriction was incredibly difficult to break through. She already had a peak imperial bloodline, but after awakening her Emperor's Star, she had not broken through. Under normal circumstances, only when a faction became a divine faction would it be possible to obtain a divine bloodline with boundless fate. It was almost impossible to break through without becoming a divine faction. The benefits of staying by Zhao Fu's side were simply too great. Most likely, even those who hated Zhao Fu to death would choose to stay by Zhao Fu's side if they knew that there were unimaginable benefits. Chapter 2259. After giving the women the 10,000 godly power, Zhao Fu planned to return to Qin City. There were many things that he needed to take care of. As for the godly spirits that Zhao Fu had not personally given the 10,000 godly power, they could also obtain the 10,000 godly power through the 10,000 godly spear. However, the power would not be as great as what Zhao Fu had given them. A few hours later, Zhao Fu returned to the place where he had been teleported to the godly realm. There was now a teleportation channel here, which connected to the teleportation channel in Qin City. Zhao Fu could use the teleportation channel to return to Qin City, or he could use Qin City to return to the godly realm. Everyone wanted to know what Qin City looked like, so they followed Zhao Fu to Qin City. After arriving at Qin City, Bai Qi, Li Si, and the various ministers heard about Zhao Fu's return, and countless people happily gathered by Zhao Fu's side. Within Qin City, Zhao Fu was undoubtedly the backbone of everything, and now that he had returned, Qin City became quite lively. Zhao Fu looked at the familiar faces and could not help but smile. He returned to the palace and sat on the throne, and he asked Li Si, Bai Qi, and the others about Qin City. Nothing major had happened to Qin City, and because of the Kingdom of Heaven's barrier, no one could attack Qin City. As such, Qin City did not have to worry about those enemies at all, and the situation in the outer world was quite normal. Finally, in the alchemy world, the alchemists who had been pushed back had come back and launched a few large-scale battles against Qin City. Wang Jian led Qin City's soldiers to defend against these alchemists, but they suffered many casualties. These soldiers were all Stage 2 soldiers, and they quickly made up for the casualties. Qin City could not afford such a war of attrition. Zhao Fu's expression became slightly cold. However, things were different now. Zhao Fu had brought back the time god, and large numbers of time items would appear. When that time came, Qin City and the others would all have Philosopher's Stones. The alchemists no longer had an advantage, as Qin City also had their alchemy power. Moreover, Qin City had some things that counter the alchemists. Now that Qin City had an even greater advantage, the alchemist Zhao Fu would definitely be able to heavily injure them. There was not much to be said about the internal affairs of Qin City. Li Si and the ministers managed the alchemists quite well, and the alchemists were doing quite well. His fate was also very stable, and it was constantly strengthening. It felt very stable and powerful. There were also 4 things that Zhao Fu cared about. The first was nurturing the evil flower demon seed. Before, Zhao Fu had nurtured the evil flower demon seed, which was the evil spirit abyss flower seed. This type of seed was not a true evil flower seed. Instead, it was an ordinary flower that had been corroded by demonic energy and had the ability to control others. This evil million flower seed was still being nurtured, and it would take a while before it could be successfully nurtured. The second matter was the top-grade stage 8 Splendor Knight Silver Dragons. Qin City did not nurture many of them, and he only had 30 or so proficiently trained them. The results were not very ideal, but there was nothing he could do about it. High-grade dragons were quite difficult to nurture, and Qin City had not nurtured them for a long time. Qin City's main fighting dragon was the Wyvern, and there were now hundreds of thousands of them. The third matter was the Een Soul beasts. Back then, in order to resist the alchemists, Zhao Fu's city had nurtured even more Een Soul beasts. The way to nurture Een Soul beasts was to seal people in large jars, and after they died, they would contain powerful resentment. Adding on the nourishment of Een Qi, they would become Een Soul beasts. Een Soul beasts could fuse with ghost soldiers and give them immense power. The ghost soldiers had not been successfully nurtured yet, and it would take some time. However, once they were successfully nurtured, Qin City would have 2 billion Stage 2 soldiers. The final matter was that the war god's fury had been completed. Hearing this news, Zhao Fu could not help but feel delighted. As long as the war god's fury was successfully nurtured, it would become a powerful weapon for Qin City. Originally, the war god's fury had almost been completed, but Zhao Fu had everyone combine their alchemy power, making the war god's fury even more terrifying. Zhao Fu wondered what the war god's fury had become. Zhao Fu decided to go and take a look later, so he went out to take care of other things. The first matter was the most important, which was to create the Philosopher's Stone. With the Philosopher's Stone, Qin City's overall strength would greatly increase. Zhao Fu had long since discussed the matter of creating a large number of items containing time power with the 3 sisters. This required setting up a large forbidden region, as nurturing such items would cause space-time to fall into chaos. Once any creature entered, they would be lost within the chaotic time, so it was a forbidden region. However, this was also a formless protection, and it would be very difficult for anyone to enter the depths of the forbidden region. Zhao Fu marked out 100 regions at the edge of the human world where there were few people. Right now, most of the powerful items that Qin City was nurturing were in the human world and were not nurtured in other worlds. After all, the human world was the foundation of the Qin Empire, so these important things naturally had to be placed in the human world. Following this, Zhao Fu ordered people to prepare countless materials and brought the three sisters to that region. Zhao Fu first ordered people to set up a massive magic formation that was roughly 100,000 meters wide. It was incredibly complex and profound, and it was carved out by thousands of Qin cities' talisman masters. This magic formation was the space-time crystallization magic formation, which could condense time power. It was a powerful magic formation that the three sisters had mastered, but it could only be activated by a time god. Now that Zhao Fu had time power, he could also activate this magic formation. However, this magic formation needed to be constantly activated, and Zhao Fu did not have that time. Apart from the magic formation, they also needed to build 3 talisman lighthouses. This was not too difficult, and after a while, the 3 talisman lighthouses were completed. The 3 talisman lighthouses were located at the center of the magic formation, forming a triangle. Each talisman lighthouse was 1,000 meters tall and was made of bronze. There were many runes carved on them. The top of the lighthouse was very thin and looked like a massive bronze needle. There was a 10 or so meter wide space at the top, and it looked like a pavilion. There was also a time magic formation engraved on the ground. Following this, the 3 time goddesses activated the space-time crystallization magic formation. However, before this, they had to evacuate some of the people living here and the talisman masters. Otherwise, if space-time became chaotic and they got lost in the chaotic time, it would be difficult for Zhao Fu to save them. After all unrelated people evacuated, the 3 time goddesses flew to the 3 bronze talisman lighthouses and stood on the time magic formation at the top. Zhao Fu also retreated to the side. Chapter 2260. Boom, boom, boom. 3 massive explosions sounded out as the 3 time goddesses gave off massive amounts of time power. Time ripples appeared around their bodies as the magic formations beneath their feet activated and started to spin. A formless time power spread out as the runes on the 3 lighthouses lit up and gave off boundless bronze light. A massive aura spread out as massive amounts of time power continued to spread out. Boom! A massive explosion once again sounded out as the massive time magic formation was activated, giving off boundless light as a massive wave of power spread out, covering the surrounding 100 regions. Immediately, countless traces of time power flooded towards the center of the magic formation. The time power at the center of the magic formation was highly condensed, and bronze crystals started to condense. Moreover, they became larger and larger until they formed pieces of bronze. At this moment, the surrounding 100 regions fell into chaos, as if they had been divided into many different spaces. In some places, the sun was shining brightly. In some places, it was already dark. In some places, it was raining. In some places, it was cloudless. In some places, the vegetation had withered, and in some places there was lush greenery. Without a doubt, this formed a time trap, and anyone who stepped into it would fall into it. Moreover, they would be trapped within that time trap and would not be able to escape at all. As time passed, the bronze at the center of the magic formation continuously condensed. By now, it was 100 meters wide and looked like a small mountain. Zhao Fu had the 3 time goddesses stop the time magic formation and went before the massive bronze. He picked up a fist-sized piece of bronze and sensed it. The time power contained within this piece of bronze was not very powerful to Zhao Fu, but it was already much more powerful than ordinary items that contain time power. It could be used as a material for the Philosopher's Stone. Moreover, it was quite fast. To be able to condense such a large piece of bronze in such a short period of time, Zhao Fu was quite satisfied with this. Now, it was time to maintain the magic formation and continuously condense bronze. Zhao Fu named this bronze time bronze. The 3 time goddesses did not need to stay here all the time. As long as they could maintain the magic formation, it would be fine. Zhao Fu left everything here to the 3 time goddesses. At the center of the magic formation, the flow of time was relatively stable, and there were no disturbances. Later, Zhao Fu planned to order people to build a palace here for the 3 time goddesses to live in. After dealing with this matter, Zhao Fu ordered people to build 12 temples. Next, Zhao Fu had to do the second important thing, which was the matter of the 12 zodiacs. Not only did the 12 zodiac beasts possess the power of time, but they also possessed the power of the zodiac beasts. Most importantly, they could make the fate of Qin stronger and more stable. They could also bestow the power of the zodiac beasts to every citizen of Qin, strengthening their fate. Such a powerful ability was extremely rare and shocking. It could increase the overall strength of a country. Leaving the 12 temples for his subordinates to continue their cultivation, Zhao Fu summoned the 12 goddesses of the zodiac to Qin's place of inheritance. Now, in Qin's land of inheritance, Zhao Fu had specially built a palace, and it was very luxurious. Zhao Fu hadn't been to this place for a long time. At the center of the palace, Qin's legacy stone gave off a rainbow-colored light as it floated in the air. There were many nation armaments around it. These nation armaments had been obtained by Qin from conquering other kingdoms. Zhao Fu had also sent a large number of soldiers to guard this place, and there were also countless restriction formations breaking out. This was the core of the entire Qin Empire, and no accident could be allowed here. Zhao Fu stood in front of the legacy stone and smiled as he looked at the 12 beautiful women in front of him. They were the rat goddess, cow goddess, tiger goddess, rabbit goddess, dragon goddess, snake goddess, horse goddess, sheep goddess, monkey goddess, chicken goddess, dog goddess, and pig goddess. Some of them did not know why Zhao Fu had called them here, and the Nagas said flirtatiously, "Your Majesty, I'm very curious. Why did you call us here? You haven't done anything to us in a long time." Zhao Fu lightly laughed. "I called you here for something very important. It's good news for the 12 of you. You will all become Qin's 12 most important goddesses." The monkey goddess looked delighted and curious as she asked, "What is it, Your Majesty?" Zhao Fu told them about the 12 zodiacs, and the women all smiled. This was an opportunity for them to ascend to the heavens in a single step. Before, the 12 of them had been Zhao Fu's ordinary concubines and enjoyed the treatment of ordinary concubines. Now that they had become so important, their statuses had risen by 10 or so times, and they had great authority in Qin. Moreover, they were quite important to Zhao Fu, so they could make more requests of Zhao Fu and receive more of Zhao Fu's favor. Zhao Fu took out the 12 orbs of light and gave them to the 12 goddesses. Following this, the 12 goddesses followed Zhao Fu's instructions and sat cross-legged around the legacy stone, forming a circle with the legacy stone at the center. They placed the 12 orbs of light in front of them and closed their eyes as they started to absorb their power. The orbs of light gave off traces of power that continuously fused into the 12 goddesses' bodies, and the 12 goddesses' bodies gave off different colored light. The orbs of light became smaller and smaller, and the light from the 12 goddesses' bodies became brighter and brighter. Their auras also became more and more powerful, causing the palace to feel quite oppressive. In the end, the orbs of light became smaller and smaller, and when they were only as big as an egg, they automatically flew into the 12 goddesses' bodies. The 12 goddesses' bodies trembled, and after their godhoods absorbed the orbs of light, they gave off powerful divine power. Their godhoods also gave off intense light, as if they were going through changes. Time gradually passed, and the godhoods within the 12 goddesses' bodies became animal shapes. There were 12 types of animals, such as rats, cows, tigers, rabbits, dragons, snakes, horses, sheep, monkeys, chickens, dogs, and pigs. Each of them was not very big, only as big as a walnut. They were also made of crystals, and they gave off different colored lights and different powers. The godhoods had all been rhombus-shaped crystals, and now that they had turned into animal shapes, it was quite surprising. After the 12 godhoods turned into 12 animals, the 12 goddesses' bodies' power and auras went through shocking changes. They were completely different from before, and the auras and power they gave off were all Zodiac's auras and power. This type of Zodiac power was many times more powerful than the power they had before, so their bodies gave off a godly might. They were no longer weak, godly spirits from before, but rather like extremely powerful godly spirits, causing people to feel reverence towards them. Chapter 2261. After becoming the 12 zodiac gods, the 12 goddesses opened their eyes and gave off different colored holy light, giving off a holy and inviolable aura. Boom, boom, boom. Rumbling sounds rang out as the 12 goddesses looked at the legacy stone floating in the center, giving off waves of powerful zodiac power. Traces of different colored aura flowed out from their bodies and formed 12 animals above their heads: a rat, a cow, a tiger, a rabbit, a dragon, a snake, a horse, a sheep, a monkey, a chicken, a dog, and a pig. After the 12 animals were formed, they seemed to be alive and started to move in the air before giving off massive auras and flying toward the legacy stone. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out as the 12 animals fused into the legacy stone, exploding out with terrifying power. The entire human world felt this power, and they felt as if they had fallen into an abyss, causing them to feel terror. The heavens and earth started to change as clouds swirled and the aura became chaotic. Traces of black, dragon-like aura rose up from the ground and the sky, and they flooded towards Qin's imperial palace. Bai Qi, Xinru, Li Si, and the other ministers sensed these massive changes, but they were not too surprised. They knew that His Majesty was doing something terrifying. Every time he came back from outside, he would do this, so there was nothing to be surprised about. After the legacy stone absorbed countless traces of Qin's fate, it gave off an intense, rainbow-colored light and an extremely terrifying might. Qin's legacy stone had already leveled up to a very high level, and it had 3 colors. Now that it had fused with the 12 zodiac gods, Qin's legacy stone went through changes. Waves of terrifying power continuously flowed out, causing people to feel quite shocked. Qin's legacy stone had been shaped like a cube, and it now had 12 sides. Each side had a picture of an animal, the 12 zodiac gods. Boom! A shocking explosion once again sounded out as the 12 images appeared. The legacy stone gave off boundless black light and turned into a massive ray of black light that shot into the sky, causing the sky to tremble. A massive black pillar of light stood between the heavens and the earth, giving off an incredibly powerful aura. It continuously spread out like a tidal wave, giving off a soul-stirring yet insignificant feeling. Bai Qi, Xinru, and the others felt quite surprised. This terrifying aura was not a small matter, and they started to walk towards the Qin imperial palace. Zhou Xiaoyan and Qing Mu, who had been playing in the Qin Empire, looked at the huge pillar of light in shock. They had just heard that Zhao Fu had returned and were planning to ask Zhao Fu why he had disappeared for such a long time, causing them to wait for a long time. Now they had stayed with Qin for a long time and had been investigating all aspects of Qin. They felt that Qin seemed to be covered by a mysterious veil. However, from the information that Qin had leaked, they knew that Qin was really terrifying. Qing Mu and Zhou Xiaoyan had wanted to send out the information they had obtained, but ever since Heaven's Barrier had been activated, nothing from the outside could enter or leave, so they could not leave even if they wanted to. When they went to find Zhao Fu, they found out that Zhao Fu had left Qin. They had thought that Zhao Fu would only disappear for a few days and had never thought that he would disappear for so long. They wondered what bad things he had gone to do. They did not know that Zhao Fu had awakened another god race emperor star and had caused the godly world's supreme weapon to descend. This had shaken a few great worlds, including the alchemy world and the outer world. Zhou Xiaoyan and Qing Mu naturally knew some information about the second king of kings. After all, this was such a shocking matter. However, they had never thought that the terrifying king of kings was the ruler of the Qin Empire. One was in the sky, while the other was on the ground. No one would connect these two terrifying people together. Even if Zhao Fu personally told them, they would think that Zhao Fu was lying. No one would believe Zhao Fu, unless Zhao Fu brought down 7 emperor stars. Looking at this pillar of light, they understood that Qin was going to go through massive changes. They could not help but feel admiration for Qin. Such terrifying growth and potential was something that their kingdoms could not compare to. With their strength, they definitely would not be able to subdue such a kingdom. If it wasn't for the fact that they were so far away, they felt that their kingdoms would have been destroyed by Qin. As fate continuously flowed into the Pillar of Light, the aura that the Pillar of Light gave off became incredibly terrifying, and almost everyone in Qin could sense it. Boom, boom, boom. 12 massive explosions sounded out as the 12 zodiac goddesses stretched out a hand, and a massive wave of zodiac power entered the legacy stone at the center, and 12 animals appeared in the sky. They were a rat, a cow, a tiger, a rabbit, a dragon, a snake, a horse, a sheep, a monkey, a chicken, a dog, and a pig. All of them were incredibly large and gave off different colored lights, causing the sky to become 12 different colors and giving off massive might. Within Great Qin, countless people looked at the 12 zodiacs in shock, not understanding what was going on. Suddenly, the 12 animals started to spin, forming a rainbow-colored circle. A massive wave of zodiac power spread out, and countless rainbow-colored motes of light floated down from the sky. The motes of light fused into the countless residents' bodies, and images of animals appeared from their bodies. The image of a sheep appeared above a strong-looking man's head. The image of a mouse appeared above a little girl's head. The image of a pig appeared above an elderly person's head. The image of a snake appeared above a middle-aged woman's head, and the image of a dog appeared above a young man's head. These images were not very big, and they were only as big as watermelons. These were the zodiac images of ordinary people, and those who had great fate had 10 or so meter wide zodiac images above their heads and gave off powerful auras. Now, everyone in Qin, from the commoners to the nobles, felt quite confused. They looked at the zodiac images and could not understand what was going on. However, even though they did not know what was going on, they could feel that there were great benefits. After the zodiac images appeared, their minds and bodies seemed to become a bit better. Some of the more powerful people who could sense fate felt quite shocked because they clearly understood how great the benefits were. They could sense that the zodiac had fused with their fate, causing their fate to become even more stable and powerful. This would greatly affect their fates. Chapter 2262. There were very few things in the world that could change one's fate. Every single one of them was extremely rare and precious, and they were all very powerful. However, the thing that His Majesty had unleashed could affect the fate of all of Great Qin's people. This was almost impossible, and yet His Majesty had been able to do it. This made Zhao Fu feel even more respect toward Zhao Fu. Qing Mu and Jiao Shaoyan also looked at the zodiac signs above the heads of the Qin people. They could clearly sense the changes in the people of Qin, which was why they were so shocked. Why didn't they? The two of them understood the reason as soon as they thought about it. All the people here were the people of Qin, except for the two of them. Only the people of Qin could have a zodiac, so they didn't have a zodiac. They also understood the importance of this matter. How could Qin have such an ability? Now, they just wanted to send out the information they had obtained in Qin City, so that the people of the forces would pay more attention to Qin City. They felt that Qin City would definitely become a terrible force beyond their imagination. Seeing that the fluctuation was about to stop, the two of them walked directly to the Qin Imperial Palace. At this time, the beam of light in the sky disappeared. The 12 zodiac beasts were gone as well. Everything returned to normal. In a legacy land, Zhao Fu smiled. Now that the 12 Chinese zodiacs had fused with Qin's nation fate, Qin's nation fate had been greatly strengthened and stabilized. In the future, as long as a person was born in Qin, they would have a corresponding Chinese zodiac. The zodiac sign born this year was the rat, the one born next year was the ox, and the one born the year after that was the tiger. This continued until the 12th year, when the zodiac signs rotated again and again. After the 12 goddesses became the 12 zodiac goddesses, their strength and aura greatly increased, and their appearances also became more attractive. At that moment, they stood up from the ground and bowed to Zhao Fu with smiles on their faces. "Thank you, Your Majesty." Zhao Fu chuckled and said, "I will also specially build 12 temples for you. In the future, I will also leave the matters of that aspect to you." The girls were pleasantly surprised. Their status was not ordinary anymore. The snake goddess went up to Zhao Fu and said flirtatiously, "Your Majesty, now let us serve you together." The other zodiac goddesses also came forward with charming or expectant expressions surrounding Zhao Fu. They had been looking forward to this day. Zhao Fu felt a little helpless. Looking at the beautiful 12 zodiac beasts beside him, he really wanted to enjoy them. However, before he made a breakthrough in his cultivation technique, Zhao Fu really couldn't touch women. The snake goddess couldn't wait any longer. Back in Otherworld, Zhao Fu had doted on her every day, and she had long since grown accustomed to such blissful days. Now that so much time had passed, she simply couldn't wait any longer. Therefore, the snake goddess put her arms around Zhao Fu's neck and started to get intimate with Zhao Fu. The other zodiac goddesses also joined in. The indescribable voices of the 12 zodiac goddesses rang out continuously in the palace, making people's hearts race and faces flush. An hour later, Zhao Fu had a bitter smile on his face as he hugged the naked zodiac goddesses. Zhao Fu was still unable to do it with them, so he could only satisfy them in other ways. He didn't know when his cultivation technique would break through. The feeling of only being able to look but not touch was torturous. "Your Majesty, your cultivation technique needs to break through quickly. I'm not satisfied with it right now," the snake goddess said as she lay on Zhao Fu's body with a flushed face. Zhao Fu said helplessly, "I don't know what's wrong with my cultivation technique. I want to break through as soon as possible, but I can't find a way." Goddess Ma smiled as she said, "Your Majesty, you can't always be like this. Otherwise, what will we do in the future? What about all the women in Qin's imperial palace? For our sake, you have to quickly break through your cultivation technique." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. Just as Zhao Fu was about to leave and deal with some other matters, a voice sounded out from outside the door. It was said that Princess Qingmu and Jiu Shaoyun wanted to see him. After such a long time, Zhao Fu had almost forgotten about them. It was time to take care of their matters as soon as possible, so Zhao Fu said, "Tell them to come here." The guard outside the door obeyed the order and brought the two women in a short while. By now, the women had already put on their clothes, and their faces were slightly red as they stood next to Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu looked at Princess Qingmu and Jiu Shaoyun and smiled as he said, "What do you two want?" Princess Qingmu unhappily harumphed. "Where have you been for so long? You made me wait for you for so long." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "I left Qin to deal with some matters." Princess Qingmu raised her head and said proudly, "We want to leave this place. Let's go." Also, what happened just now? Why did different animals appear above the heads of Qin's people? Zhao Fu looked at Princess Qingmu and replied, "These are the 12 zodiac animals. They can increase the kingdom's fate and the people's fate." Princess Qingmu and Jiu Shaoyan were quite surprised. Why was Zhao Fu, who usually refused to reveal any information, willing to tell them these things? Jiu Shaoyan asked seriously, "How can I obtain the 12 zodiac animals?" The 12 zodiac animals could increase the kingdom's fate and the fate of countless people. They were very important to any country and would be of great help to the entire country. As such, Jiu Shaoyan really wanted to know how to obtain the 12 zodiac animals. Princess Qingmu naturally cared about this as well, and she said, "Yes, tell me quickly. I want to know as well." Zhao Fu replied simply, "This is an opportunity that I obtained outside. You can't have the 12 zodiac animals." Princess Qingmu and Jiu Shaoyan were somewhat disappointed. Seeing that Zhao Fu was willing to tell them Qin's secrets and try to get more information, Jiu Shaoyan asked, "Can we ask you something else? If you can answer me, the Wine Cloud Kingdom is willing to form an alliance with you and become your best friend. I might even become your concubine." Seeing Jiu Shaoyan say this, Princess Qingmu said, "As long as you can tell us everything we want to know, the Greenwood Kingdom can also be your ally. With our help, You won't have to be afraid of the enemies outside and won't have to hide here anymore. Also, I don't intend to become your concubine. Do you understand? Now, they understood that Qin's strength was very terrifying and mysterious. It was best to be friends with such a force. It would be very terrifying if they became enemies. Although this place was divided into 5 parts, they believed that the final victor would most likely be Qin. If Qin won, it would naturally be of great benefit to their forces. As such, they decided to form an alliance with Qin. Chapter 2263. Zhao Fu could not help but chuckle. Qing Mu said somewhat angrily, "What kind of attitude is that? Qin is currently being besieged by a few large factions and needs our help. You'd best curry favor with us, otherwise we won't help Qin." Zhao Fu smiled at Aoki Makoto. "I think you misunderstood something. Now Qin is not afraid of them, nor is it afraid of your 2 kingdoms. You 2 will stay in Qin from now on. Don't think about leaving." Qing Mu and Jiu Shaoyun were alarmed. They were not afraid of a few factions, but they were not afraid of their 2 kingdoms. These words were too arrogant. Zhao Fu wasn't crazy. He didn't look crazy, so why was he so arrogant? Jiu Shaoyun also felt that something was wrong, because not only did Zhao Fu arrogantly say that he was not afraid of their power, but he also wanted to imprison them in Qin. No wonder he was willing to tell Qin's secret. Princess Aoki angrily glared at Zhao Fu and said, "Your words make me very angry. Hurry up and apologize to me, or you'll have to bear the consequences." Jiu Shaoyun understood that it was impossible for her to escape, so she said seriously, "Now that Qin is facing a few major forces and is under a lot of pressure, there's no need to add 2 more enemies. Moreover, these 2 enemies are stronger than the other major forces. Even if you don't want to be friends with us, there's no need to treat us as enemies." There was a trace of a smile on Zhao Fu's face. He did not say anything and walked towards the 2 of them. Aoki Muzu harumphed and was not afraid at all. She gave off a powerful aura and attacked toward Zhao Fu. The only way to escape from here was to capture Zhao Fu. That would make everything easier, and he could even force Qin to submit to him. Aoki Muzu gave off a powerful aura as he charged at Zhao Fu and punched out, sending out a ray of azure light toward Zhao Fu. However, Zhao Fu stretched out his hand and easily grabbed her fist before pulling her into his embrace and hugging her. Aoki Muzu felt quite startled. She was one of the top 10 geniuses of the ancient STEM domain. How could she not be able to retaliate against Zhao Fu? This person was so powerful. She had underestimated him. Aoki Muzu struggled in Zhao Fu's embrace. However, Zhao Fu lowered his head and kissed her, causing the 6 desires demonic qi to continuously flow into her body. Aoki Muzu's resistance became weaker and weaker, and she started to intensely respond to Zhao Fu. By the side, Jiu Shaoyun felt quite startled. She had never thought that Zhao Fu would be so easily. After a while, Zhao Fu. Princess Qingmu's face was red as she breathed raggedly in Zhao Fu's embrace. She hugged Zhao Fu with her arms, a lustful look in her eyes. Zhao Fu turned to look at Jiu Shaoyun, who had a seductive figure. Jiu Shaoyun understood that she was not a match for Zhao Fu, and she did not feel any disgust toward Zhao Fu. She had always felt that Zhao Fu had a charm that attracted her, so she did not object to becoming Zhao Fu's concubine. She took the initiative and flirtatiously smiled as she walked over to Zhao Fu and wrapped her arms around Zhao Fu's neck as she started to act affectionately with Zhao Fu. She could sense why Aoki Muzu had fallen so quickly. This sort of feeling was simply unstoppable. She even took off her clothes, wanting to do it with Zhao Fu. However, Zhao Fu let go of her and smiled as he said, "All right, in the future, you 2 will be my concubines and stay in Qin." Aoki Muzu harumphed, "I don't want to." Zhao Fu smiled as he looked at her and said domineeringly, "You don't have a choice. Now, you can only become my concubine." Aoki Muzu angrily glared at Zhao Fu and cursed, "You're a bastard." Jiu Shaoyun lightly laughed as she teased, "Muzu, you weren't like this when you were being affectionate with him, just then. Hearing this, Aoki Mizu's face became bright red, and she felt quite embarrassed. She had never thought that she would take the initiative and had only wanted to do it with Zhao Fu. Even though she had said that she did not like it, she still enjoyed the feeling of being in his embrace. Zhou Xiaoyan was much more normal and hugged Zhao Fu as she looked at Zhao Fu with her beautiful eyes and smiled as she said, "Emperor, can you tell me everything now?" Zhao Fu felt quite startled and could not help but lightly laugh as he said, "How did you find out who I was?" Aoki Mizu looked quite confused and did not understand why Zhou Xiaoyan had suddenly called Zhao Fu emperor. Wasn't he just a king at the border? What surprised her even more was that Zhao Fu didn't retort. Zhou Xiaoyan happily smiled as she said, "During the ancient stem banquet, I was attracted by your aura. Only after kissing you did I confirm that you're the mysterious emperor who shook the entire ancient stem domain." Aoki Mizu immediately felt quite shocked. The person in front of her was the mysterious emperor who had shaken a few large domains. Before, the entire ancient stem domain had been madly searching for him. She had never thought that he would be here. At that moment, Zhou Xiaoyan stretched out her hand and took off the cloak that was covering Zhao Fu's appearance, revealing Zhao Fu's peerlessly beautiful face. Now that Aoki Mizu had personally seen Zhao Fu's appearance, she did not doubt at all. Even though Zhao Fu's appearance was much better than before, she was still able to recognize him. He was that mysterious emperor from back then, that incredibly terrifying emperor who even the ancient sword sect feared. Back then, she could not help but feel great admiration towards such a terrifying emperor and felt that she was inferior to him. Back then, when she had fought with Zhao Fu, how could she not have thought that Zhao Fu was that mysterious emperor? Wasn't Zhao Fu hiding his strength too deeply? Most likely, no one in the ancient stem domain knew about this. If they had known that Zhao Fu was that terrifying emperor, the various royal kingdoms in the ancient stem domain would have long since come to curry favor with him. After all, they all knew how terrifying this mysterious emperor was. Of course, they could also go crazy and do everything they could to destroy Zhao Fu. Even though Zhao Fu had terrifying potential and power, his true identity was just the king of a small border kingdom, so they did not have to worry about him. They definitely could not allow such a person to exist, or else their fates would be quite terrible. As such, they had to kill Zhao Fu. Aoki Mizu thought back to how Zhao Fu had resisted a world realm expert back then, and that scene was still fresh in her mind. She was confident that Zhao Fu would make the Qin Kingdom a terrifying faction, and no one would be able to stop Qin Kingdom from rising up. Why didn't you say so earlier? Why did you hide it for so long? If you had said so earlier, I might have become your concubine, Aoki Mizu said as she happily smiled. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Back then, I did not think about it that way. I was indeed afraid of royal kingdoms, so I did not dare to do anything to you. What about now? Do you like me now?" Aoki Mizu's face was red as she asked in embarrassment. Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. He had just tasted Aoki Mizu, and it was indeed quite good. Hearing this, Aoki Mizu happily hugged Zhao Fu. Zhou Xiaoyan smiled as she said, "Emperor, since we've become your women, you don't have to hide anything from us anymore, right?" Chapter 2264. Zhao Fu smiled as he replied, You can go to all the places in Qin. If there's anything you don't know, you can find me mooching. I still have things to take care of, so I'll be leaving first." Zhou Xiaoyan smiled and nodded. "Thank you, Your Majesty." Following this, Zhou Xiaoyan and Qin Muqing could not help but feel curious and start to look around Qin. Many places in Qin were forbidden areas, and they could not enter at all. However, they wanted to know what was inside and what terrifying things might be hidden there. As such, they had tried all sorts of methods to enter, but they had all failed. Now, they could enter openly, and no one would stop them. After looking at the forbidden areas, Zhou Xiaoyan and Qin Muqing's expressions became more and more serious. The hidden strength of Qin was simply too terrifying, and it was beyond what they could bear. They did not believe that the Qin Empire would not become a super large faction in the future. Zhao Fu came to the flower domain and was about to deal with the golden flower ancestor and flower bell. After going to the god realm and bringing back 2 of the 8 great mystical flowers, Zhao Fu had not expected this. Now, Zhao Fu already had the world flower, evil spirit abyss flower, dark night flower, otherworld golden flower, and soul bell tree flower. He was only 3 more to complete the 8 great mystical flowers. Zhao Fu first went to the flower domain palace. Seeing that Zhao Fu had returned, the flower fairy was very happy. The 12 madams also came, and they also missed Zhao Fu greatly. Following this, some indescribable things happened. Zhao Fu left behind the madams and flower fairies who were panting on the bed and went to the edge of the flower domain by himself. Now, Zhao Fu wanted to expand the flower domain because he needed to nurture the golden flower ancestor's golden soldier ability and the soul bell tree flower's ability to create godly souls. This was especially so for Hua Ling, the soul bell flower ancestor. She had brought countless godly soul soldiers, so she needed a large area. Zhao Fu picked 2 places and called the golden flower ancestor and Hua Ling over. Boom! The golden flower ancestor followed Zhao Fu's instructions and came to a flat area. It half squatted on the ground and pressed its hand against the ground, and a massive wave of golden power surged out. The golden flower ancestor's body gave off a golden pillar of light that gave off a massive aura as it shot into the sky. An enormous golden pillar of light appeared in the heavens and earth, and countless traces of heaven and earth power quickly gathered. A massive image of a golden flower giving off boundless golden light, and giving off a massive aura slowly appeared within the pillar of light. This flower looked like a peony, and it seemed to be made of gold. Its branches were curved, and there were many golden leaves on it. It wasn't very big, and the flower at the top was very big, like the crown of a tree. Every petal was golden and gave off an intense golden light, dyeing the sky gold and giving off an extremely noble feeling. After the golden flower image appeared, the golden flower ancestor vigorously pressed down on the ground, and a massive wave of golden power exploded out. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out as the image of the golden flower gave off a massive wave of golden power, and it gave off a massive aura as it spread out in all directions. The ground and sky also started to turn golden. It spread like a tide. In the end, the entire world became golden. At that moment, the golden flower ancestor coldly stood up from the ground. The golden flower disappeared, but the golden world did not disappear. This was because the golden flower ancestor was in existence on the level of a flower ancestor and was no longer restricted by being a plant. It could move around and did not have to stay in one place. This golden land was created with the golden flower ancestor's power. If the golden flower ancestor did not take back the golden power, this golden land would continue to exist. This golden land was mainly used to nurture gold soldiers. The golden flower ancestor's golden power could corrode all sorts of creatures and turn them into gold creatures, giving them immense power. Now that the golden land had been formed, Zhao Fu just had to throw in some creatures or enemies. Their bodies would be continuously corroded by the golden power and would eventually become gold creatures. Zhao Fu also planned to research whether the golden alchemy world's golden arts could be fused with gold creatures. After all, the golden alchemy world's golden arts were related to all sorts of metals, and gold creatures were gold creatures. Perhaps fusing the two together would result in shocking changes. After inspecting the golden land, Zhao Fu brought the 2 of them to another place. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as Hua Ling followed Zhao Fu's instructions and half squatted on the ground. She pressed a hand against the ground and exploded out with a massive wave of divine soul power, causing countless traces of holy light to fall from the sky. An illusory image of a tree with powerful spiritual energy slowly appeared in the sky. This tree was only 10 or so meters tall and had a trunk that was 3 or 4 meters wide. The trunk was snow white and had a smooth surface. There were no runes on it, and it did not seem like a tree at all. The tree's crown was quite big, and it spread out like an umbrella. There were many small silver-white flowers blooming on it, and each flower had a divine character imprinted on it. The divine characters flashed and emitted countless crisp sounds of wind chimes. After the divine tree appeared, it gave off boundless light and a silver domain containing massive power spread out, covering the surroundings. Before the tree's flowers disappeared, Hua Ling stood up and waved her hand, causing countless silver seeds to fly out like raindrops. They densely covered the surroundings, and it was impossible to tell how many there were. The seeds gave off faint light and fell from the sky. After landing on the ground, they quickly sprouted and became small trees before growing into large trees. Finally, a forest of flowers was formed in a short period of time, and it gave off a faint fragrance that could make people feel intoxicated. This was the place where Hua Ling nurtured his divine soul. The nurtured divine soul also had a very strong power and had many uses. Of course, it required countless souls to nurture them, and this required countless godly spirits to be slaughtered. It felt that Qin's development could not be separated from slaughter. Zhao Fu gave the Golden Land and Flower Forest to the Golden Flower Ancestor and Hua Ling to manage, and he would also build 2 palaces for them. Even though they did not have to stay here all the time, nurturing gold soldiers and divine souls depended on them, so they would often stay here. After dealing with these matters, Zhao Fu thought about it and found that there were still some things he had to take care of. He felt that there were quite a lot of things to take care of, and it would take him a few days to finish them. In the end, Zhao Fu went to the fish scale world and ordered people to build a massive temple. He also ordered people to carve a statue out of precious sea jade. Chapter 2265. Now, Zhao Fu had come to deal with the ocean goddess. In the godly world's secret realm, the ocean goddess, one of the 24 core gods, had fused her consciousness into Zhao Fu's body. In order to avoid being sensed by the secret realm, after fusing into Zhao Fu's body, the ocean goddess had sealed herself within Zhao Fu's body and did not give off any information or ripples. Now, she had been successfully brought out by Zhao Fu. Even though the ocean goddess no longer had any divine power, she was one of the 24 core gods, and her power and potential were unfathomable. If she was properly nurtured, she would undoubtedly be one of Qin's most powerful forces. Because the fish scale world was a water world, the ocean goddess was most suited here. As such, Zhao Fu decided to build a godly palace here and not in the human world. A few hours later, the godly palace's preliminary construction was complete. Later on, it still needed to be decorated, and the statue had been carved. The statue only had a simple humanoid shape and was not very detailed, as it required the godly spirit to fuse with it. It was dark blue and looked like jade, and it was 3 meters tall. Zhao Fu stood in front of the statue and closed his eyes as he sensed the blue orb of light within his body. This was the ocean goddess consciousness that had sealed herself, and now he just needed to fuse her into the statue. However, Zhao Fu was not in a hurry to do this, as Zhao Fu would not easily trust anyone. Moreover, nurturing the ocean goddess would cost countless resources, so Zhao Fu decided to do some things just in case. Countless traces of 6 desires demonic qi continuously flowed towards the blue orb of light. The blue orb of light could not resist at all, and the 6 desires demonic qi directly flowed into it. A while later, the blue orb of light gave off boundless light, and a woman appeared in Zhao Fu's mind. She had dark blue hair and a beautiful face. She had a mature figure and wore very little, only covering her important parts. She held a spear and gave off a beautiful aura. Her eyes were glistening with tears as she looked at Zhao Fu with a blushing face. She said in a seductive voice, "What did you do to me?" Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he said, "It's just a restriction. I'll seal it now. Now that you've come to my faction, I've constructed a god palace and god statue for you. You just need to fuse into them." The face of the Ocean Master God was flushed red as he said with a slight panting tone, "We can talk about that later. I want you right now." Zhao Fu looked quite startled and understood that he had injected too much Six Desires demonic chi into the sea goddess. Now, the sea goddess' reaction was too intense, and she was already deeply affected. However, the crux was that Zhao Fu could not do anything and was about to seal the Six Desires demonic chi within the sea goddess body. Suddenly, the ocean master god pounced at Zhao Fu as though she had lost her mind. Zhao Fu's consciousness automatically turned into a human form and was pinned down by the ocean master god. She then rode on Zhao Fu's body, and it was indescribable. Zhao Fu's face was stunned. He had not expected that this could work. Furthermore, the feeling was no different from a real lovemaking. Zhao Fu did not know how the ocean master god did it. Didn't she have no strength at all? Looking at the ocean master god who was riding on him, Zhao Fu poured out his repressed desires onto her. After a full day, the ocean master god was already lying there like a puddle of mud, panting with a flushed face. Zhao Fu revealed a smile. All the repressed desires were poured out, and his mood was much better. However, Zhao Fu had not had his fill yet. Suddenly, Zhao Fu heard panting sounds within his body, and hearing this, Zhao Fu felt quite surprised. His consciousness left where he was and went to another place. There was a peerlessly beautiful woman with jet black hair and a pair of golden eyes. She had a fiery figure and white and tender skin. She wore a golden robe and gave off a noble aura. Her appearance was quite similar to Diyu's. Diyu was the emperor-killing sword spirit, while this woman was Di Shi, the golden dragon within Zhao Fu's body. Now, Di Shi was lying on the ground with a flushed face, her hands on her body as she twisted. The scene was indescribable. Seeing her like this, Zhao Fu felt quite surprised and did not know what had happened. He then thought about it and realized that it was most likely because of the matter with the ocean master god. Seeing Di Shi like this, Zhao Fu did not hesitate and ravaged her in all sorts of ways. Di Shi lewdly responded to Zhao Fu and gave off those blushing moans. As he continuously ravaged Di Shi, Zhao Fu was delighted to find that the bottleneck that the Six Desires celestial art had been stuck at was starting to loosen. Only then did Zhao Fu realize that Di Shi was most likely hiding something from him. Half a day later, Di Shi could not take it anymore. Zhao Fu hugged her and came to the ocean master god's side and ravaged them together. Afterwards, Zhao Fu hugged the two of them and gave a smile. The ocean master god lay in Zhao Fu's embrace and pouted coquettishly as she said, "You're a bad fellow, but I misjudged you and actually tried to do it with me." Zhao Fu innocently smiled as he said, "Just then, you were the one taking the initiative. I was the victim." The ocean master god thought about the crazy things from before, and her face became red, too embarrassed to say anything. Di Shi sighed. Zhao Fu hugged her and started to play with the things in front of her chest as he smiled and said, "Have you been hiding something from me?" Di Shi's face became slightly red as she said, Also, have you always had such thoughts about me that you didn't hesitate to ravage me?" Zhao Fu did not hide anything and smiled as he said, "We've been together for so long and are very familiar with each other. Moreover, you've been mine from the start. So there's nothing wrong with me doing this, right?" Di Shi blushed and felt inexplicably happy. "You're right, but I don't plan on giving my body to you. I cultivate the Six Desires celestial art of abstinence, so I can't do it with men. Once I do it with men, I can only walk the carnal art of abstinence." Zhao Fu continued to ask, "Tell me what you're hiding." Di Shi explained, "I've already warned you about the pros and cons of the carnal art of abstinence and the carnal art of abstinence. Abstinence can make one's power purer and make breakthroughs easier. Even though carnal art of abstinence allows one to cultivate quickly and can easily control all sorts of women, if one's power is not pure, it will be very difficult to break through in the later stages. If you can't break through for a long time and can't help but do it with women, your body will be changed by the Six Desires demonic art and you'll become a woman. As long as you do it with many men, you'll become a man again, but your cultivation technique will never be able to break through." Hearing this, Zhao Fu was given a big fright. Become a woman? Do it with countless men? His cultivation technique, would never be able to break through? This was not a joke and was an extremely serious matter. Zhao Fu did not want to become a woman. He was the ruler of the Qin Empire. How could he become a woman? Chapter 2266. Moreover, after becoming a woman, he would have to do it with many men before he could become a man again. The key was that he would never be able to break through in his cultivation technique. Wouldn't that mean that he would be constantly changing between a man and a woman? Thinking about becoming a woman and doing it with countless men, Zhao Fu definitely could not accept it. He would rather die than accept it. Zhao Fu's expression became quite unsightly as he said, "Dishi, you're not lying to me, right?" Dishi lightly laughed. "What? Now you know how to be afraid? What about when you're lawless and willfully assaulting women? I didn't lie to you. Even though the Six Desires celestial art is powerful, it's still a celestial cultivation technique. Adding on the fact that it requires a vessel, there are very few people who cultivate it in the Heaven Murder Empire." So this was true? Would he really have to continuously change between a man and a woman? And do with men? Zhao Fu's face paled and he felt quite angry. "Dishi, why didn't you tell me about these flaws earlier? And now that I'm doing it with you, don't tell me you want to see me become a woman?" The oceanic woman could not help but laugh. "With your looks, if you become a woman, you'll definitely be the most beautiful person in the world. No one will be able to compare to you. When that time comes, you'll be pursued by countless men. You'll have to be careful." Zhao Fu glared at her. Dishi laughed as he said, "In actuality, I never thought that you would encounter such a big obstacle. With your talent, no matter what cultivation technique you cultivate, you should have no problems. However, this problem has most likely occurred because of the Six Desires Celestial's influence." Zhao Fu felt quite confused. "What do you mean by the Six Desires Celestial's influence?" Dishi explained, "Do you know about the Six Desires evil images? When your cultivation technique breaks through, the six monsters that appear are the Six Desires evil images. They were created by the Six Desires Celestial, and their original bodies are with him. Everyone who cultivates the Six Desires Celestial art is connected to the Six Desires Celestial. An ordinary person might not be able to affect Six Desires Immortal, the creator of the cultivation technique. However, perhaps your karmic luck is too great, and you may have walked the opposite path of Six Desires Immortal, which has had a negative effect on Six Desires Immortal. At the same time, Six Desires Immortal's immense power has begun to affect you, making it harder for you to break through in your cultivation technique." Zhao Fu frowned. Did that mean that the Six Desires Immortal had already sensed his existence? Moreover, he had a negative influence on the Six Desires Immortal. Would he be killed by the Six Desires Immortal? It had become an immortal for who knows how many years, and its power was unimaginable. If it met such a person, even the Holy Empire might not be able to stop it. Zhao Fu asked, "What should we do now? Can I abandon the Six Desires Immortal scripture and start from scratch? I don't want to be enemies with such an existence, but I also don't want to become a woman." Dishi lightly laughed as he said, "Zhao Fu, you don't have to be so afraid. If you're strong enough, you'll be able to deepen your influence on Six Desires Immortal. In the end, you might even be able to control it. Although the cultivation technique is harder to break through, the benefits of breaking through are huge. My strength and ability to control women will also become stronger." Zhao Fu said with a headache, "The most important thing now is how to break through the current cultivation method. Also, I haven't done it with you yet. Does that count as breaking the restriction?" "Emperor," she said with a smile, "the time you had with the Ocean Chief God doesn't count." Hearing this, Zhao Fu was about to let out a sigh of relief. "However, Emperor," she said, "however, if you don't find a way to break through now, you'll slowly become a woman." Zhao Fu felt quite confused and did not know what to do. However, he suddenly thought of something and gave a trace of a smile. Why did it not count for the Ocean Chief God, but Emperor Shi did? Moreover, when he had done it with Emperor Shi, his cultivation method had shown signs of breaking through. As such, if he continued doing it with Emperor Shi, he would be able to break through. Zhao Fu gave an evil smile as he looked at Emperor Shi in his arms. Emperor, she understood that Zhao Fu had thought of a way, and she blushed. I can't do it by myself. You need to find other people who cultivate the 6 desires in mortal scripture, and they need to walk the path of abstinence. Or you can nurture someone who cultivates the 6 desires in mortal scripture. Now, he needed a woman who also cultivated the 6 desires in mortal scripture. This was because Zhao Fu walked the path of abstinence, so he needed to find a woman who cultivated the 6 desires in mortal scripture. She also cultivated the path of abstinence, and she was the vessel for Zhao Fu to cultivate the 6 desires in mortal scripture. If she told Zhao Fu about this, she would definitely have to do it with Zhao Fu. Once she did it, she could only walk the path of abstinence and become very slutty. That was why Emperor, she had never said it, and wanted to see if Zhao Fu could find another way to break through. However, she had never thought that he would communicate more deeply with the ocean goddess in his consciousness and affect her. Now that he had found a way, Zhao Fu smiled and said, I don't know where people are cultivating the 6 desires in mortal scripture, but I can only nurture someone who cultivates it. Emperor Shi, how do you think I should do that? That's right. Does your little sister Du also cultivate the 6 desires in mortal scripture? Emperor, she rolled her eyes at Zhao Fu. My little sister does not cultivate the 6 desires in mortal scripture. She cultivates the Heaven Murder Empire's legacy technique, the Imperial Heaven Art. Also, this is a celestial art. Do you think you can nurture her just because you want to? Zhao Fu smiled as he asked. Then what should we do? Emperor, she explained. First, we need a woman with very high talent who is also a virgin. The second is to find a suitable vessel for a celestial art, which is very rare and difficult to find. Zhao Fu thought about it. He did not lack women with very high talent. Mielu, Shun Xianhua, Yu Chan, the Golden Flower Ancestor, and Hualing were all of them. Moreover, Zhao Fu had not touched them yet, so they were all virgins. Now, the difficult thing was to find a vessel for a celestial art, because a vessel for a celestial art was indeed very difficult to find. Zhao Fu decided to put this aside for now and deal with the current matters first. Zhao Fu's consciousness left his consciousness space and stretched out a hand. A blue orb of light floated out of his palm and floated into the statue. The statue gave off boundless blue light, and its appearance changed slightly. In the end, it looked exactly like the ocean god, and a formless blue, godly spirit domain spread out. Zhao Fu had asked her about the ocean god's abilities before. As a powerful ocean god, apart from having terrifying power, she also had the ability to create a powerful navy. Right now, the god spirit domain that was spreading out was the sea god world. As the ocean master god grew stronger, the area of effect would expand as well. In fact, it might even be able to cover the entire territory. With that, the cultivation speed and strength of the countless marine race beings within it would increase by leaps and bounds. Moreover, it would give birth to ocean god servants. These ocean god servants were formed from ocean god power and water elemental essence, and they would be incredibly powerful. Most importantly, they could be mass-produced to form an army. Chapter 2267. Apart from this, there was also the ability to nurture powerful sea beasts. Sea beasts were usually huge and had terrifying destructive power. Qin's 8 guardian beasts were the 8 sea beast kings, and they were all absorbing the world's source energy to grow into even more terrifying existences. Qin had always wanted to nurture sea beasts, but he had not grasped the method, so he had not succeeded. Now that he had the ocean goddess, she could nurture a large number of sea beasts, which would greatly increase Qin's strength. Moreover, these sea beasts and sea god servants all had very high-level god powers, which made them far stronger than ordinary people. For example, the ocean master god would be able to deal with someone of the same level 1 cultivation state. If he were to come across someone of level 1, level 5 cultivation state, he would be able to fend them off as well. This was the immense advantage of having a higher cultivation state. It could make up for the disadvantage of having a lower cultivation state. With the ocean chief god, it could be said that he had a powerful navy and it would be much easier to fight against the water race in the future. At that moment, the ocean chief god appeared beside Zhao Fu, looked around, and said, "Your conditions here are really bad, but I like your potential. I believe you won't disappoint me in the future." The ocean chief god was one of the 24 ancient chief gods, a supreme existence in the god world. Qin's conditions were indeed extremely bad for her, and even Zhao Fu felt that he had wronged her. However, Qin was only like this now, and he would definitely become a super powerful force in the future. Zhao Fu smiled as he hugged her. "I won't disappoint you." The ocean goddess hugged Zhao Fu and smiled happily. After being alone for so many years, she quite liked this feeling. A golden light shot out of Zhao Fu's body, and Dishi's body appeared beside Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu was quite surprised. It turned out that Dishi could freely enter and exit his body. He had never seen her like this before. Now that Zhao Fu's relationship with her had improved, Zhao Fu smiled as he hugged her and asked, "Why did you come out?" Dishi rolled his eyes at Zhao Fu and replied, "Staying in your body is quite stuffy, so I came out to get some fresh air." Zhao Fu did not say anything else, and he ordered people to continue building the God Palace. He also gathered the fish-scale residents to worship the ocean god and provide him with faith energy. After dealing with the ocean goddess, Zhao Fu brought Emperor Shi to the core of the sealed sky, Forbidden Land. Master, the spirit maiden, the human world's consciousness, appeared from the void and looked at Zhao Fu with her beautiful eyes as she gave a gentle smile and called out. Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. This trip to the God realm has come to a successful conclusion. I've also brought this back. After saying that, Zhao Fu took out a multicolored fireball. It was none other than the Pantheon Flame. Seeing the Pantheon Flame, the spirit maiden was delighted and took it from Zhao Fu's hands. She looked at it seriously and smiled as she said, "This God Flame is very powerful and can be used as a material for the primordial cauldron. Now, Master is only missing Dao Seeking Stones. The Dao Seeking Stones could be found in the alchemy world's exchange stone steel, and they could be exchanged for with a large number of alchemy points." Qin had killed countless alchemy race people and obtained countless alchemy points, but he had not used any of them. After a while, he would be able to exchange them for Dao Seeking Stones. Zhao Fu smiled as he replied, "After you have enough alchemy points, I'll immediately forge a primordial cauldron for you." Zhao Fu gave the origin god metal and countless other materials to the spirit maiden. Forging a primordial cauldron was not a simple matter, so he had to make preparations. The spirit maiden smiled as she said, "Thank you, Master." Zhao Fu smiled as he asked, "How is the nation beast I asked you to nurture?" The spirit maiden replied, "Master, come take a look with me." After speaking, the spirit maiden waved her hand, and a black hole appeared. Zhao Fu and the others entered the black hole and arrived in a very large space. It was unknown how big this space was, but there was a massive rainbow crystal at the center. It was over 10,000 meters wide, and it gave off boundless rainbow light. There was also a powerful wave of world essence energy. The rainbow crystal in front of them was most likely the realm core, the most important item of a world. It contained the world's most powerful essence energy, and if the realm core was destroyed, the entire world could be destroyed. The realm core was controlled by the world's consciousness, and most people would not be able to discover it. Even if they discovered it, they would have to defeat the world's consciousness if they wanted to snatch it. Apart from the realm core, there were 12 massive creatures in this space, all of whom had their eyes closed and were fast asleep. Among them were the 8 oceanic beast kings, Gross 9 celestial enchanting deer, Tina Pendragon's sky desolation azure dragon, Masanori Hano's Yamata no Orochi, and Zhao Fu's world cleansing butterfly. The last 4 also had immense potential, so Zhao Fu planned to nurture them into nation beasts. A rainbow orb of light had appeared on the 8 oceanic beast kings' foreheads, giving off powerful world energy. Their bodies had not become larger, and they had instead become smaller. They were now only 10,000 meters long, while the 8 oceanic beast kings had devoured countless pieces of flesh and medicinal pills, making them nearly 20,000 meters long. Now that they had become smaller, Zhao Fu was quite surprised. However, their power had greatly increased, and their defense was many times greater than before. Although the oceanic beast kings were quite big and powerful, they were still a bit weaker than other creatures of the same realm. Now that the 8 oceanic beast kings were absorbing the world's source energy, they did not pursue larger bodies, and instead pursued greater power and defense. They also sought to make their power purer, so that they could become supreme beasts in the future. The other 4 creatures also had rainbow orbs of light on their foreheads, giving off powerful world energy. They had become much larger, and they were now 10,000 meters long, almost as big as the 8 oceanic beast kings. The 9 celestial enigmatic deer and the sky desolation azure dragon gave off massive might, and were like divine beasts that had protected the world in the past. The Yamata no Orochi also gave off a terrifying, evil, and savage aura, causing people's hairs to stand on end. However, Zhao Fu's world-cleansing butterfly was still the same and had not become a butterfly. It still looked like a bug and was lying there, snoring away. Now, they had almost been nurtured, and they only needed a bit more time before they could be used on the battlefield and display their power as Qin's nation beasts. Zhao Fu gave a satisfied smile and left the center of the sealing heavens Forbidden Land's magic formation. After taking care of some matters, he returned to the sealing heavens Forbidden Land. After taking care of some matters, Zhao Fu went to the primal chaos world. Zhao Fu mainly checked on the situation here and the mechanical blood mosquitoes. Before, Zhao Fu had ordered people to fuse the blood-sucking mosquitoes with alchemy power, forming a type of mechanical blood mosquitoes. The mosquitoes' reproduction speed was quite shocking, and Qin had countless philosopher's stones. After such a long time, they had most likely developed quite well. /33_M Chapter 2268. After arriving at the cultivation site, Zhao Fu was shocked by what he saw. There were many large craters on the flat ground, and there were blood-colored crystals floating in the craters. The surroundings were densely packed with half-machine, half-living mosquitoes. They covered the ground, making rustling sounds that made one's hair stand on end. Zhao Fu felt that there might be 50 to 60 million of them. If so many mechanical mosquitoes flew up, they would cover the entire sky, and they would be even more useful. The mouth parts of these mosquitoes and some parts of their bodies were covered with metal, and their mouth parts were extremely sharp. They could easily pierce through metal, and even alchemists would find it difficult to stop them with their alchemy power. Moreover, these mechanical mosquitoes were blood-sucking creatures. Once a mosquito pierced a person's body, they would be sucked dry in just a few seconds. The mechanical mosquitoes were 3 meters tall and could store large amounts of blood. When necessary, they could even burn the blood to increase their strength or heal injuries. Adding on the fact that the blood-sucking mosquitoes had stage 3 strength, it would not be difficult for a single mechanical mosquito to deal with 10 or so stage 2 soldiers. A single mechanical mosquito could deal with 10 stage 2 soldiers, so 50 million mechanical mosquitoes could deal with 500 million stage 2 soldiers. Of course, this calculation was not very accurate. After all, the combined strength of 500 million stage 2 soldiers was far greater than a small team of 10, but the mechanical mosquitoes could still be very useful. Zhao Fu remembered that when he had left, there had only been a few million, and now there had been tens of millions. In another year, there would definitely be a few hundred million. With so many mechanical mosquitoes, ordinary factions would not dare to attack. Moreover, even though alchemy power could increase strength and defense, Zhao Fu did not plan to fuse all of his people or beasts with alchemy power. Instead, he wanted to maintain the diversity of his people. After all, who knew if they would encounter enemies that countered alchemy power? The chaos power in the outer world could break down alchemy elements and suppress alchemy power. Zhao Fu was naturally quite satisfied with this result. He understood that this was all because of Ericina and the others' efforts, so Zhao Fu rewarded them well. After understanding that there was nothing going on in the outer world, Zhao Fu went to the underworld to check on some things before returning to Qin City to take a look at the War God's Fury. The War God's Fury was originally huge, about the size of an entire region. However, because it was made up of mud and stone, it was extremely fragile and could be easily destroyed. After adding in the celestial peach tree, Earth Soul, and some other things, it became a lifelike existence with powerful defenses. However, Zhao Fu was still not satisfied. He then combined it with alchemy power to increase its destructive power and defense. Now that Zhao Fu heard that the research was successful, he did not know what it would look like. After arriving at the War God's Fury, Zhao Fu was once again shocked. The War God's Fury was completely the same as before. It floated in midair, and its base was cone-shaped. It was completely covered in silvery white metal, and there were tall walls around it. The walls were also made of metal, and there were minarets at regular intervals. There were also cannons, and there were many of them. Apart from these, there were many structures on the outside that were also made of metal, and they took up 1/7 of the area. The center was filled with lush greenery, and the most eye-catching thing was the peach tree at the center. It was over 10,000 meters tall, and its crown seemed to be able to cover the sky, giving off a powerful aura. The War God's Fury looked like a perfect fusion of machinery and nature, and it had a unique sense of beauty and gave off a shocking feeling. Mu Minxian was the alchemist that Zhao Fu had brought back, and she smiled as she said, "Your Majesty, I didn't disappoint you, right? I hope I didn't disappoint you. Let's go up now, and I can explain to you the War God's Fury's abilities in detail." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded, and the two of them flew onto the War God's Fury in the sky. Now that he was standing on it, Zhao Fu could clearly sense how powerful it was, and it felt like a powerful and firm fortress. Mu Minxian started to explain to Zhao Fu, "Your Majesty, look at this minaret. There's a powerful magic formation that can release a massive energy barrier that protects the interior of the War God's Fury. This energy barrier is connected to the War God's Fury's source energy, and it is incredibly difficult to break through. There are 300,000 large cannons, and they can shoot out extremely powerful beams of light. There are also millions of small cannons on the walls, and they can shoot out small artillery shells. All of this consumes Philosopher's Stones, and every time it's used, it consumes a massive amount of Philosopher's Stones. Apart from these offensive abilities, the War God's Fury also has two powerful abilities. The first is the War God's Might. The War God's Fury is incredibly large and can give off a massive might that can suppress the surrounding 1 million meters. Those under the Emperor Heaven Realm will not be able to withstand it. The second is the War God's Fury, which is the War God's Fury's most powerful attack. It gathers all of its power in a single attack, and it has the power to destroy everything. However, it consumes a lot of the War God's Fury source energy. After hearing Mu Minxian's explanation, Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. This War God's Fury could rival an army of hundreds of millions of soldiers. Moreover, this War God's Fury could continue to be nurtured. It was said that the War God's Fury had become a different kind of life form, and it had great potential for growth. In the future, it would be even more terrifying than it was now. Zhao Fu had left the construction of the War God's Fury to Mu Minxian, and it was mainly because of her that the War God's Fury had become so powerful. Zhao Fu smiled and said, "What reward do you want?" Mu Minxian's face lit up. She had the highest status among all the people of the gold refining clan. However, her status was only in the lower middle level in the entire Qin Kingdom. She didn't have any real power other than being in charge of some affairs related to the gold refining clan. Now, she could use this opportunity to leap into the upper echelons of Great Qin and wield true power. As such, Mu Minxian said, "Your Majesty, this is a great opportunity. I want to be the person who manages the War God's Fury." The war god's fury was so powerful that controlling her was equivalent to having hundreds of millions of soldiers. In the future, as the war god's fury performed, her status would also rise. Zhao Fu chuckled and nodded. No problem at all. To Zhao Fu, there really wasn't anyone else suitable, and the defense and offense of the war god's fury required alchemy power. Thus, the alchemists were the most suitable, and Mu Minxian was undoubtedly the most suitable person. Chapter 2269. Mu Minxian smiled as she said, "Thank you, Your Majesty." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "This is what you deserve." After Qin obtains a large number of Philosopher's Stones, he will launch a counterattack against the alchemy world. When that time comes, your status will rise even more. Mu Minxian felt quite shocked. Qin now had the power to counterattack against the alchemy world. It seemed that His Majesty Qin had made great gains from his trip to the godly world. She had waited for this day for a long time. When she had joined Qin, she had one goal, which was to become the leader of her family and control her alchemy family. Hearing that Qin was going to counterattack against the alchemy world, Mu Minxian smiled. She did not doubt this at all. She knew how terrifying the person in front of her was. Without great confidence, he would not have said such a thing. Zhao Fu was about to leave and go to the center of War God's fury to have a look. Mu Minxian's face became slightly red as she suddenly asked Zhao Fu, "Your Majesty, can I be your concubine?" All of the powerful women in Qin were controlled by Zhao Fu's 6 desires demonic qi. Their bodies were affected by the 6 desires demonic qi, and they would feel that intense feeling every day. If they could endure it for a few days, they would be able to endure it, but they could not endure it for such a long time. However, apart from a large number of women who were controlled by the 6 desires demonic qi, there were also a small number of women who were not controlled by the 6 desires demonic qi and had extremely high statuses in Qin. Moreover, even now, Zhao Fu had not touched them. For example, Ba Qing, who controlled Qin's business, Xianru, who was an imperial teacher, Li Muqing, and Li Shaoling, the top scholar in arts. To others, their existence was a miracle. This was especially so for Xianru, who had known Qin since they were in a small village. As soon as they met, she had decided to follow Zhao Fu until now. Adding on her peerless beauty, she should have been Zhao Fu's first woman. However, Zhao Fu had never planned to make her a concubine. Right now, Mu Minxian not only wanted to obtain Zhao Fu's favor, but she also wanted to consolidate her current position. At this time, there were not many alchemists in Qin Kingdom. Once Qin Kingdom started to counterattack the alchemy world, there would be many alchemists. There was no lack of outstanding people among them. If they could be favored by Zhao Fu, they would have a great advantage. Upon hearing this, Zhao Fu was startled. He lifted Mu Minxian's chin and looked at her beautiful face. Most of the alchemist race's bodies were mechanized, and it gave off a strange feeling. Moreover, it seemed that Zhao Fu had never pampered an alchemist woman before. Facing Zhao Fu's gaze, Mu Minxian's face became red, and she stretched out her hands, preparing to take off Zhao Fu's clothes. She understood that Zhao Fu was interested in her. Zhao Fu chuckled. "I'll enjoy you properly after this. You go down and settle your matters. I'll leave after taking a look at the immortal peach tree." Mu Minxian lightly smiled and nodded before leaving. After coming to the alchemist race's location, a few alchemist women came over. They were the women who had been captured by Zhao Fu along with Mu Minxian. "Big Sister Mu, why did His Majesty ask you to tell him? Also, have you obtained His Majesty's favor? I don't know why we're always trying to get His Majesty's favor, but Her Majesty doesn't seem to like us." Mu Minxian smiled as she said, "His Majesty has many beauties by his side, but he has already acknowledged my position. You can all serve His Majesty with me." The alchemist women looked incredibly delighted. Being able to serve Zhao Fu was an incredibly good thing for them, and they said gratefully, "Thank you, Big Sister Mu." Mu Minxian smiled and nodded. She was helping these people because she needed them to consolidate her position. At that moment, Zhao Fu flew in front of the immortal peach tree at the center of Wargid's fury and looked at the 10,000-meter-tall immortal peach tree. Before, the immortal peach tree was only 10 or so meters tall, but it was now 10,000 meters tall. The speed at which it was growing was simply shocking. This immortal peach tree was no ordinary immortal peach tree, but a 9,000-year purple rune immortal peach tree. It had terrifying effects. Not only could it greatly increase one's lifespan and cause one's body to be reborn, but it could also cure all sorts of illnesses and give one true celestial energy. Zhao Fu's 5 celestial senses were, because he had eaten the immortal peach tree, turning into celestial mode and giving him even greater power. Right now, Zhao Fu's main goal was to come here. Now that the immortal peach tree had become so big, he wondered if it could bear fruit in advance. Zhao Fu did not want to wait 9,000 years to harvest immortal peaches. By then, even Zhao Fu would not be sure if Qin still existed. Walking to the side of the tree, Zhao Fu stretched out a hand and pressed it against the tree, sensing the immortal peach tree's power. Zhao Fu smiled. The immortal peach tree and Wargid's fury had fused together, and the time it took for the immortal peach tree to bear fruit had been brought forward by many years. Now, it seemed that it only needed 6,000 years to bear fruit. Even though this was still a long time, as Wargid's fury grew, the immortal peach tree's time would continue to shorten. Such a big immortal peach tree would most likely be able to bear many immortal peaches. Suddenly, Zhao Fu sensed a trace of mental energy ripple from the immortal peach tree. Following this ripple, Zhao Fu discovered a green tongue of flame that was the size of a thread. Seeing this green tongue of flame, Zhao Fu felt quite surprised. He had never thought that the immortal peach tree would give birth to a tree spirit so quickly. Having a tree spirit was a good thing. It had all sorts of benefits for the immortal peach tree. However, Zhao Fu sensed that this tree spirit thirsted for celestial energy. It seemed that he needed to find many things that contained celestial energy to nurture, and it would be best if it was real celestial energy. Zhao Fu was in a difficult position. Ordinary celestial energy was extremely weak and had a lot of impurities. This kind of thing was not rare, but things that contained real celestial energy were extremely rare. There might be a lot of them in the half-immortal world and the immortal world. He would see if he could collect them first. If he couldn't, he would see if there was a chance to head to the half-immortal world. After inspecting the immortal peach tree, Zhao Fu came to another place. There was a huge platform being built here, and there were many alchemy arrays. These were all arrays used to create the Philosopher's Stone. Zhao Fu had the 12 zodiac goddesses head to the chaotic land of time to help the 3-time goddesses mass produce time bronze. With a large amount of time bronze, he would be able to create the Philosopher's Stone. Zhao Fu wanted to mass produce the Philosopher's Stone and then give it to Qin's soldiers to fuse with it, allowing them to have the power of alchemy. As long as they had the power of alchemy, the first thing that Qin would do was to counterattack the alchemy world. From the very beginning, the alchemy world had been suppressing Qin. Facing the alchemy world's ferocious attacks, Qin could only passively defend. After being beaten up by Qin, they had been afraid for a while before attacking Qin again. Zhao Fu was quite angry about this, so Zhao Fu made the alchemy world his first target. As for the other places, they were fine. Within the Heaven Awakened world, Qin had heaven's protection, so they did not have to worry about the large factions attacking. Zhao Fu wanted to wait until heaven's protection's time was up before attacking the outside factions. Otherwise, he felt that it would be a waste of heaven's protection's power. Chapter 2270. A few days later, the massive platform was finally completed. There were alchemy formations engraved on the ground, and there were all sorts of materials around the formations. The alchemy formations were activated and gave off boundless light. Waves of energy spread out, and the materials were gradually decomposed and condensed within the magic formations. Heaven and earth power from the surroundings flowed in, forming green stones that were as big as cherries. The process was quite smooth, and there were no accidents. There were 1,000 magic formations on the platform, so they were able to create 1,000 Philosopher's Stones. Zhao Fu took a Philosopher's Stone and examined it. After finding that there were no problems, he gave it to a soldier to refine. After a few hours of refining, the green Philosopher's Stone fused with the soldier, and the soldier's strength immediately increased, and he grasped alchemy power. Zhao Fu had the soldier take a look at him for now. The soldier obeyed and displayed his alchemy power. He stretched out a hand, and a green metallic aura continuously flowed out. It continuously condensed and changed in his hand, and a sharp saber slowly formed. Following this, the soldier's body gave off countless traces of a green metallic aura, and his body started to turn into metal, making his body as tough as steel. Most importantly, his movements were incredibly nimble and did not seem stiff at all. Now, not only did the soldier have great strength, but he also had powerful defenses and was incredibly nimble, and he was not affected at all. The gold refiner race had this advantage, and adding on the fact that almost all of them had stage 2 cultivation, they were able to suppress Qin. Now that Qin also had alchemy power, the gold refiner race's advantage no longer existed. Now, Zhao Fu would continue to construct the platform and engrave alchemy formations to mass-produce Philosopher's Stones and give them to the soldiers to refine. This would allow them to have Qin's power, and Qin's overall strength would greatly increase. However, Zhao Fu would have to wait for a while. Once most of Qin's soldiers had alchemy power, they would be able to attack the gold refiner world. After taking care of everything, Zhao Fu relaxed and returned to Qin's imperial palace. After spending some time with Nu Lu, Wu Qingyang, Yuan Ziyuan, and the other women, he started to think about his cultivation technique. Although he had found a way to break through the secret art, the matter was not easy to solve. Zhao Fu absolutely could not accept that he had become a woman and that he had done it with so many men. Zhao Fu thought about it and went to the Heaven Spirit Steel. He felt that it had been a long time since he had been here. The reason he had come here was because Zhao Fu could not find anyone to cultivate the 6 Desire Celestial Art. As such, he could only find a vessel for the 6 Desire Celestial Art so that others could learn it. Also, he could get real immortal stones here. Although it was difficult for Zhao Fu to get immortal stones, it was relatively easy for those real experts. Zhao Fu could get immortal stones from them to cultivate tree spirits. After entering the Heaven Spirit Steel, Zhao Fu felt quite surprised. He had never thought that his account would be a supreme level account, and it gave off a rainbow-colored light. What was going on? If it had been a mistake and given to him a supreme great account, that would have been understandable. However, not taking it back after such a long time meant that there was a huge problem. Suddenly, Zhao Fu thought of something. It seemed that using the Heaven Spirit Steel required his blood to bind with it. Could it be that the Heaven Spirit Financial Group knew who he was? Even though the blood had left Zhao Fu's body as Zhao Fu's blood, it would still change according to his body. If it had his blood, they would definitely know who he was. This explained why he had suddenly obtained a supreme great account. In their eyes, he was a supreme great account. Now, Zhao Fu started to hesitate and wondered if he should continue using the Heaven Spirit Steel. Now that they knew who he was, if he continued using it, it would be incredibly dangerous. It was possible that they would find out where Qin was. However, Zhao Fu thought about it. They had already known who he was, and he had used it so many times. If they could find him, they would have done so long ago. As such, Zhao Fu decided to use the Heaven Spirit Steel. Within a simple and unadorned room, a white-haired elder was writing with a brush. In front of him was a screen of light, and a 7-colored mote of light appeared. The elder immediately sensed something, and his heart trembled. He looked up at the mote of light and hurriedly ran out. Following this, a large group of people hurried over because they heard that a terrifying figure had come online. It had been less than a month since he had obtained the God Race's Emperor Star, but things had not ended just because he had disappeared. Now, everyone was madly searching for him. It was said that he had attracted the attention of countless terrifying figures in the outer world and alchemy world, and they had given out orders to kill him at all costs. It could be said that in the history of the Heaven Awakened world, he He was the first person to cause such a stir in multiple worlds, and experts from all over were searching for him. The Heaven Spirit Financial Group did not dare to reveal this matter, nor did they dare to have any contact with Zhao Fu. Once this news spread, experts from all over would rush to them, and even 10 Heaven Spirit Financial Group would not be enough to destroy them. Despite this, they still paid attention to his movements and paid great attention to everything related to Zhao Fu. Moreover, they had no way of finding Zhao Fu's whereabouts. Even though they had created and managed the Heaven Spirit, they were unable to locate every part of the Heaven Awakened world, let alone them. Even Celestials would not be able to locate a person in such a large world. Even if he was at the center of the Heaven Awakened world and had a massive amount of fate protecting him, they would not be able to locate Zhao Fu. Moreover, they did not have any ill intentions toward Zhao Fu. They were a one-person financial group, and they felt that Zhao Fu was harmless to them. They even wanted to curry favor with Zhao Fu, so there was no need for them to locate Zhao Fu. Now that Zhao Fu had shaken a few large worlds, they did not dare to do such a thing. This matter was simply too dangerous. After everyone gathered in the room, they stared at the screen of light, wanting to know what this terrifying existence was doing. Zhao Fu had no idea that a small action of his could shake such a powerful faction. After deciding to use the Heaven Spirit Steel, the first thing Zhao Fu did was search for a vessel. Because Zhao Fu had a supreme level account, there were no restrictions, and many things popped up. Zhao Fu looked at it. As a vessel for celestial art, it was incredibly rare. It was either something that contained powerful celestial energy or powerful source energy, and it had to be something that matched the cultivation technique. If the vessel's attribute did not match the celestial arts, the vessel would violently explode, and if it exploded, it could be life-threatening. Chapter 2271. The Six Desires demonic art was a half celestial and half demon art, so the vessel had to contain these two attributes. Zhao Fu searched for information about this and found a type of immortal demon jade that contained these two attributes. It was incredibly powerful and could be used as a vessel. However, the person who had this immortal demon jade also had a sovereign grade account and was most likely a higher being. Moreover, the immortal demon jade could be exchanged for something of equal value. Zhao Fu did not have such a thing at all. As such, Zhao Fu could only continue to search for other information. Unexpectedly, Zhao Fu found that as long as they could provide some information, they would be able to satisfy all of their requests. They were willing to give celestial grade arts, half celestial grade weapons, and powerful holy pills. Were these people crazy? Why did they want to find him so badly? This could not be blamed on anyone else. After all, the commotion that Zhao Fu had caused was simply too great, and even the other great thousand worlds knew about this terrifying existence. However, the information they received did not contain as much killing intent as before. Before, the people who were looking for Zhao Fu either wanted Zhao Fu's head or Zhao Fu's life, as if they were determined to kill Zhao Fu. Now, most of them wanted to know about Zhao Fu, so they did not reveal any killing intent or ill intent. After all, even an idiot would understand how terrifying Zhao Fu would become in the future. If they dared to openly say that they wanted to kill Zhao Fu, they might bring disaster upon themselves in the future. Zhao Fu already had the potential to threaten them. Those were 7 Emperor stars, and when the 7 Emperor stars gave off dazzling light, even higher beings would feel a trace of fear. Zhao Fu thought that if they leaked some information about him, let alone one immortal demon jade, even 10 would not be a problem. However, Zhao Fu was not that stupid. If he was not careful, he might bring trouble upon himself. Following this, Zhao Fu found an item that contained powerful immortal demon power, and it was a very suitable vessel, the Immortal Demon Book. However, the person who possessed this book needed even more precious items, and Zhao Fu did not have any. Now, Zhao Fu felt quite troubled. Even though he had found a vessel, he did not have the ability to obtain it. It would be great if he could open the King of Kings' treasury, there would definitely be suitable items within. The people from the Heaven Spirit Steel watched as Zhao Fu searched for relevant information. They felt quite curious, but they were not too surprised. After all, it was quite normal for such a person to have a celestial art. What they were curious about was why Zhao Fu was looking for a vessel. The vessel's only use was to pass down immortal level cultivation techniques. What was his purpose in passing down immortal level cultivation techniques? The Heaven Spirit Financial Group definitely had a vessel, and they even wanted to give it to Zhao Fu to curry favor with Zhao Fu. They also wanted to satisfy all of Zhao Fu's conditions. However, this matter was too important, and they didn't dare to do that. Zhao Fu continued to look through all sorts of information, looking for information on how to solve the problem with the cultivation technique. He had never thought that he would actually find something. This information was about a sect, which was the Six Desires Celestial Sect. It was a powerful faction in the spirit domain, and its people were all emotionless and incredibly powerful. Not only were their disciples powerful, but the sect also had 6 higher beings. The top-tier existences in the world were higher beings, and the Six Desires Celestial Sect had 6 of them. This showed how powerful this sect was, and it was most likely one of the top factions in the spirit domain. What caught Zhao Fu's attention was the Six Desires Celestial Sect's name. Zhao Fu cultivated the Six Desires Celestial Art, and this sect was called the Six Desires Celestial Sect. As such, Zhao Fu felt that there was definitely a connection between the two, so he started to search for information about the Six Desires Celestial Sect. In the end, he found that the Six Desires Celestial Sect was indeed closely related to the Six Desires Celestial Art. After all, the Six Desires Celestial Art they cultivated was the Six Desires Celestial Art. Moreover, the disciples who cultivated this cultivation technique seemed to walk the path of abstinence and were all incredibly cold. When it came to cultivation, cutting off all desires and focusing on cultivation was very beneficial. However, it was very difficult for ordinary people to do so, and even if they did, their lives would become quite boring. Zhao Fu was now sure that the Six Desires Celestial Sect was closely related to the Six Desires Celestial Art. However, Zhao Fu could not find out how the Six Desires Celestial Sect had obtained the Six Desires Celestial Art. The Six Desires Celestial Art that he cultivated came from the Heaven Murder Empire, and the Heaven Murder Empire's Six Desires Celestial Art was obtained by a Heaven Murder Empire's emperor after he charged into the Six Desires Celestial Palace. Zhao Fu asked Di, she and his body, if she knew anything. She looked quite confused and did not know what was going on. Zhao Fu guessed that since the Six Desires Celestial had not died yet, he had most likely left behind some other legacy, and the Six Desires Celestial Sect was one of the people who had obtained that legacy. Even though he could not obtain a vessel, finding out about the Six Desires Celestial Sect was not bad. After all, it was possible that Zhao Fu would go to the spirit domain in the future to awaken the spirit race's Emperor Star. Zhao Fu now had the human race's Emperor Star, devil race's Emperor Star, outlander race's Emperor Star, death race's Emperor Star, and god race's Emperor Star. He only had the spirit race's Emperor Star and the water race's Emperor Star. If he could gather these 2 types of Emperor Stars, Zhao Fu would have 9 Emperor Stars. Just thinking about it was quite shocking. Zhao Fu put this matter aside for now. After he dealt with Qin's matter, he would deal with the matter of the cultivation technique. Following this, Zhao Fu left. The Heaven Spirit Financial Group's experts watched as that person searched through a large amount of information about the Six Desires Celestial Sect, and they understood that his next destination was the spirit domain. As for what he wanted to do, everyone immediately understood. He most likely wanted to awaken the spirit race's Emperor Star. Ever since he had gone to the godly world, almost everyone knew about Zhao Fu's goal. Awakening the supreme Emperor Stars of various races was no longer a secret. Out of the 8 major races, only 2 of them did not have a supreme Emperor Star, so his target was the remaining 2 regions. There were many terrifying higher beings lying in ambush in those 2 domains, waiting for Zhao Fu to come. The Six Desires Celestial Sect was also in trouble, being targeted by such a terrifying person, something big would definitely happen. After taking care of these matters, Zhao Fu went to the alchemy world. Qin was currently mass-producing Philosopher's Stones for the soldiers to use, and it would take some time before they could attack the alchemy world. Right now, Zhao Fu planned to gather some information about the alchemy world in order to prepare for a counterattack. After coming to the alchemy world, Zhao Fu first went to find Wang Jian. He had been standing guard here this entire time, and he most likely knew the most about the alchemy world. "Greetings, Your Majesty." Seeing that Zhao Fu had come to the alchemy world, Wang Jian gave a trace of a smile and bowed to Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu smiled and nodded, and he told Wang Jian about the current situation in the alchemy world. Wang Jian started to explain to Zhao Fu that the alchemy world had gathered 3 billion soldiers and had all sorts of methods. They had long since gotten rid of Qin's teleportation ability. That teleportation ability was the ability that Qin had used to heavily damage the alchemy world. Now, there were 3 billion alchemy world soldiers imprisoned there. /33_M. Chapter 2272. Zhao Fu was not too surprised, as this sort of method had shocking effects. However, if someone else thought of a way to deal with it a second time, this method would naturally be useless. The last time the Heaven Refining World had attacked Qin Kingdom was a month ago, and Qin Kingdom had used 5 billion Stage 2 soldiers to defend against them, and they had suffered great losses. Qin Kingdom was under great pressure, and if the Heaven Refining World attacked again, Qin Kingdom would have to use other powerful methods, or else they would not be able to defend against the Heaven Refining World's ferocious attacks. According to the news, the Heaven Refining World had been preparing to attack Qin Kingdom half a month ago, but for some reason, they had stopped attacking Qin Kingdom. It was not just them. The entire Heaven Refining World had temporarily stopped attacking the Heaven Awakened World. Zhao Fu felt quite shocked. He did not know why the entire Heaven Refining World had stopped attacking. Zhao Fu was also quite curious about the reason. It was definitely something terrifying, or else the entire Heaven Refining World would not have stopped attacking. This was definitely not a small matter, and was a shocking matter. Zhao Fu felt quite confused. Even if he was in the godly world, he would definitely be able to sense something like this. However, why had Zhao Fu not sensed anything at all? Moreover, he had not heard of anything terrifying happening. After asking Wang Jian, Zhao Fu could not help but smile. Wang Jian said that after countless rays of white light shot out from the Heaven Awakened World, the Heaven Refining World soldiers had retreated in terror. Those countless rays of white light had been given off by the Hao Yian mirror, which meant that all of this had been caused by him. However, after such a short period of time, the Heaven Refining World soldiers, who had stopped attacking, could not wait any longer and wanted to attack Qin Kingdom. After hearing about this, Zhao Fu did not feel any fear. After all, he was preparing to counterattack the Heaven Refining World, so why would he be afraid? Wang Jian was not worried, and all of the soldiers defending the Heaven Refining World no longer felt any fear. After all, Qin Kingdom's soul, the ruler of everything, was personally presiding over this place, so there was nothing to be afraid of. In addition, the alchemy army had dispatched more than 10,000 war sacred beasts. Not only were there offensive sacred beasts, defensive sacred beasts, and rapid-type sacred beasts, but there was also a humanoid sacred beast. These humanoid holy beasts were relatively rare, but their strength was far more terrifying than other holy beasts. Most importantly, they could use all sorts of attacks, unlike other holy beasts that only had one attack. Qin had suffered a few losses in its hands, causing a lot of losses. Because Zhao Fu had never seen the humanoid holy war beast before, he wasn't sure of its strength and abilities. However, he had already decided to deal with this humanoid holy war beast first in the next battle. Apart from this, there was no other important information in the alchemy world. Now, they could only wait for Qin soldiers to absorb a large number of Philosopher's Stones. After looking around the alchemy world for a while, Zhao Fu was planning to sneak into the major forces of the alchemy world to investigate some information himself. Suddenly, a ring on Zhao Fu's finger emanated intense ripples and waves of death power flowed out, causing their surroundings to become icy cold. This ring was the Disaster King's ring. The Disaster King's ring was Zhao Fu's most important ring, and there were all sorts of important things within it. Moreover, this ring had been by Zhao Fu's side for the longest time. It was formed by fusing the Death Ring and an ancient king armament. Not only was it incredibly large, but it also had all sorts of attributes and 10 disaster death cavalrymen. The terrifying ripples that the Disaster King's ring gave off did not seem to be coming from itself, but rather because it had been affected by some sort of power. The only things that could affect the Disaster King's ring were the disaster death cavalrymen. In the early stages, the disaster death cavalrymen had been incredibly useful. They had activated undead disaster, but as Qin had become more and more powerful, the disaster death cavalrymen had become less and less useful. Sometimes, when they activated undead disaster, some experts and soldiers would band together to stop them. Zhao Fu had given the 10 disaster death cavalrymen absolute freedom and did not restrict their actions. Similarly, Zhao Fu did not pay much attention to their matters. Now that they were giving off such powerful ripples, Zhao Fu felt quite curious about what had happened to them. Even though they were not very useful anymore, Zhao Fu still cared about them. As such, Zhao Fu did not go to the alchemist faction to gather information, and instead went to see what had happened to the disaster death cavalrymen. Following these ripples, Zhao Fu found that the 10 disaster death cavalrymen were in the underworld, so he headed there. After arriving, Yellow Springs said with a serious expression, "Husband, why are you here? I was just about to go and inform you." Seeing how serious she looked, Zhao Fu's heart sank, and he asked, "What happened? Is it related to the 10 disaster king cavalrymen?" Yellow Springs nodded. After a battle, the 10 disaster king cavalry entered the Yellow Springs River and haven't come out since. It's been about a year, and now there's been a change. The situation isn't good. Zhao Fu's expression became serious as he asked, "Where are they now?" Hearing this, Yellow Springs said, "Then come with me, husband." The Yellow Springs Kingdom was now as big as 3 worlds, and there was a Yellow Springs River next to it. Zhao Fu had dug a Yellow Springs River into the Yellow Springs Kingdom and used its water to nurture Yellow Springs soldiers. Because there were countless corpses in the Yellow Spring River, and after countless years of changes, it contained all kinds of filthy and evil energies. These filthy and evil energies gathered and formed a kind of yellow spring water. That was why the yellow spring water was also filthy and evil. This filthy energy was quite terrifying and could pollute everything. In fact, some filthy energy even gave higher beings headaches and did not want to come into contact with it. Following Yellow Springs, Zhao Fu came close to the Yellow Springs River. The Yellow Springs River was many worlds wide and stretched out as far as the eye could see. The river water was yellow and flowed incredibly slowly, as if it was not flowing at all. There were all sorts of creatures' corpses within it. Now, there were 10 massive whirlpools within the Yellow Springs, giving off terrifying power and stirring up the Yellow Springs. At the center of the whirlpools were 10 figures. They were the 10 disaster king cavalrymen. Their situation was quite bad, and the soul flames in their heads had become quite weak, as if they could be extinguished at any moment. Seeing this, Zhao Fu could easily guess the Disaster King cavalryman's goal. It was most likely that after that battle, the Disaster King cavalrymen had absorbed a large amount of deathly energy and were unable to become more powerful. As such, they had entered the Yellow Springs River and planned on using Yellow Springs' power to break through. /33_M Chapter 2273. Everything had gone as they had expected. They had absorbed the Yellow Springs' power from the bottom of the Yellow Springs, and their bodies had been corroded by the Yellow Springs' power, causing them to quickly become stronger. However, things were not as simple as they had thought. Just as they were about to go through the final changes, a massive amount of Yellow Springs' power flowed into their souls. This caused their souls to quickly weaken. If this went on, their souls would be corroded by the yellow springs, and they would become nameless corpses within the yellow springs, forever remaining there. Zhao Fu's expression was quite serious as he stood in the air and looked at the disaster cavalry within the 10 vortexes. The 10 disaster royal cavalrymen also sensed Zhao Fu and felt incredibly excited and happy. Even though they had been given the cold shoulder by their king, their loyalty towards their king had never changed. They were willing to give up everything for their king and swear loyalty to their king. Even though they were in a dangerous situation, they still half knelt on the ground and weakly called out, "King." Zhao Fu replied seriously, "Don't move anymore. Next, I will pass my origin energy to you. You will receive my origin energy and fuse it with the power of the yellow springs." The disaster kings, who had been quite weak, became even weaker because of what they had just done, and their bodies seemed as if they were about to collapse. The 10 disaster cavalry obeyed Zhao Fu's orders and did not move at all, maintaining their half-kneeling posture. Standing in the air, Zhao Fu stretched out a hand and slashed at his palm with his fingernail, causing black, gold-like blood to flow out of Zhao Fu's wound. Under Zhao Fu's control, the blood formed 10 lychee-sized orbs of blood and lined them up, giving off an aura of source energy. Now, Zhao Fu's bloodline was the source bloodline, and it had unimaginable power. Zhao Fu wanted to use the source bloodline's power to help the disaster cavalry break through and cause them to go through even greater changes. Boom! A massive wave of source energy flowed out of Zhao Fu's hand and entered the 10 orbs of blood. The 10 orbs of blood gave off an intense light, and runes appeared on them as powerful waves of power spread out. Xiao, xiao, xiao. Zhao Fu pushed out with his hand, and the 10 orbs of blood gave off an intense black light and turned into rays of light that shot into the disaster ruler cavalry's forehead. Bang! The disaster cavalrymen felt an immense power rush into their heads, and they felt as if their heads were about to explode. A power that seemed to dominate the heavens and the earth, but also seemed to be the source of all things, spread out from their heads like floodwaters. This is the power of their king. The 10 disaster cavalrymen fell into a state of shock. They couldn't help but feel even more respectful towards their king. Their king was the ruler of everything. Boom, boom, boom. Massive explosions sounded out as origin energy and origin blood spread out within the disaster cavalry, causing their bodies to go through massive changes and give off boundless black light. The power of the yellow springs that was corroding them was easily suppressed by them. They even needed an even stronger power of the yellow springs. The 10 disaster cavalrymen gave off even greater power, causing the 10 vortexes to become even larger. They swirled with immense power, and countless amounts of yellow springs water were sucked in. The area around the disaster cavalrymen started to crystallize, and the yellow springs' power condensed within their bodies, causing their bodies to go through changes. In the end, the disaster cavalrymen were completely covered by the yellow crystals and gave off a massive wave of yellow springs power, as well as a terrifying might that covered the surroundings, causing people to feel a trace of terror. The 12 Yellow Springs queens came to Zhao Fu's side, but did not say anything, as they were worried that they would disturb Zhao Fu. Time gradually passed. Boom, boom. Massive sounds rang out as the yellow crystals gave off boundless yellow light and flew out of the yellow springs. They flew into the air and gave off a massive aura. The heavens and earth started to change as countless traces of underworld power ferociously gathered and flooded into the 10 enormous yellow crystals. Ka-cha, ka-cha, ka-cha. Clear cracking sounds sounded out as the yellow crystals around the disaster cavalrymen cracked and fell off piece by piece. An extremely terrifying power flowed out, and the heavens and earth seemed to feel terror. Everything fell silent, and even the air seemed to freeze. In the end, all of the yellow crystals fell off, revealing the disaster cavalrymen's bodies. The disaster cavalrymen stood in the sky, wearing pale white bone armor, and holding a pale white bone spear. They also had a pale white bone rune sword at their waist, and their bones were black like black iron. Gray, black, yellow, and violet flames burned within their heads. The four flames represented different powers. Gray represented death power, black represented king power, yellow represented yellow springs power, and violet source energy. Their bodies gave off four different colored auras, and there were many ghosts surrounding them. There were men, women, elderly, and children, and their expressions were savage, hateful, and furious. Each disaster cavalryman was surrounded by hundreds of thousands of ghosts, and the sky was covered by them. The disaster cavalrymen at the center seemed to be the masters of these ghosts, and they gave off an incredibly terrifying feeling. They seemed to rule over all living beings, and they gave off boundless death, disaster, boundless coldness, and a trace of source energy. Now, the disaster cavalrymen could no longer be called disaster cavalrymen, and were instead called Yellow Springs Emperor cavalrymen. Their power was far more terrifying than before, and they now seemed to be the rulers of death. Their power would continue to grow and become even more terrifying. They would become true rulers of death and surpass everything in the world. Sensing the Yellow Springs Emperor cavalrymen's power, the 12 Yellow Springs Empresses felt quite shocked. They were dozens of times more powerful than before, and they all felt immense danger. With their current power, even if they did not activate undead disaster, they could still be very useful, such as hunting down experts from all sides. Moreover, they were undying existences because their soul source energy was fused with their rings. As long as Zhao Fu's rings were not destroyed, they would not truly die. With this ability and the source blood that Zhao Fu had given them, the Yellow Springs Emperor cavalrymen would definitely become the most terrifying existences in the world. Their names would spread through countless worlds and strike fear into the hearts of all living beings. King, however, even though the Yellow Springs Emperor cavalrymen had become so terrifying, they still respectfully knelt in the air and called out to Zhao Fu. Even though they had become so powerful, without their king's help, they would not have their current power, and it was possible that they would have died. They understood that all of this was a reward from their king, so they had to be even more loyal to him. Sensing the Yellow Springs Emperor cavalryman's power, Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile. /33_M Chapter 2274. As the owner of the Yellow Springs Emperor Cavalry, Zhao Fu could look at its stats and knew how powerful it was. Not only was the Yellow Springs Emperor Cavalry much more powerful than before, but it was also much more powerful than before. Before, the Yellow Springs Emperor Cavalry's power was a combination of death power and disaster power. Even though they were quite powerful and people of the same cultivation could not defeat them, they were not terrifying enough. At that moment, the Yellow Springs Force and the Peak Origin Force fused together to form the Yellow Springs Force of Death. Even though the Yellow Springs Death power could not compare to Zhao Fu's 6 Paths of Reincarnation power, it was still an extremely terrifying power. It did not lose to Emperor's power or Saint's power because this power contained source energy. This power was of the death attribute. Although it had fused with Calamity, Yellow Springs, and Origin energy, its main attribute was still the power of death. Calamities contained all sorts of calamitous powers, and they could strengthen the deathly power to form deathly calamities. The Yellow Springs power was a kind of filthy power, but it was formed from countless corpses, and it could also be considered a power related to deathly power. Finally, the source energy strengthened the Yellow Springs Death power's deathly attribute, causing it to go through qualitative changes and become Yellow Springs Death power. If the Yellow Springs Emperor Cavalry continued to grow like this, it would definitely become a powerful ruler of death. Now, the Yellow Springs Emperor Cavalry had this Yellow Springs Death power and all sorts of different abilities, all of which were quite powerful. For example, they had the ability to summon countless ghosts. Now, they were like underworld experts, and could use their own power to summon countless ghosts. Moreover, the ghosts that they summoned were not ordinary ghosts but powerful ghost soldiers. In the beginning, the 10 of them had been skeleton soldiers, and after absorbing the king's power, they had become commander-level skeletons, which was equivalent to skeleton generals. Now that they had fused with their source energy, they had become Lord Skeletons. Moreover, they were not ordinary Lord-level skeletons, but skeletons that surpassed Emperor-level skeletons. It was just that they had not fully grown yet. In the past, a Lord-level creature's territory was a region, a King-level creature's territory was a world, an Emperor-level creature's territory was 10 worlds, and an Emperor-level creature's territory was 100 worlds. Beyond the Overlord rank was the Saint rank, and its territory could cover 1,000 worlds. As long as the Yellow Springs Emperor cavalry matured, it would be able to have a territory of 1,000 worlds. Just thinking about it was shocking. Due to the influence of this lord's power, the 10 Yellow Springs Imperial cavalrymen could only summon powerful ghost soldiers instead of ghosts. A single one of them could summon tens of thousands of soldiers, and when 10 of them worked together, they could even unleash a joint summoning ability. This ability was called the Great Emperor's Army. 10 Yellow Springs Emperor cavalrymen could summon hundreds of thousands of soldiers. This ability could become stronger as they grew stronger. At that time, it wouldn't be difficult to summon 10 million soldiers. Apart from the ability to summon ghost soldiers, they also had some of the abilities of a lord, such as the might of a lord, their own death domain, and their powerful senses. Most lords had these, so there was no need to explain too much. The second, more powerful ability was the ability to gather countless ghosts. Right now, each Yellow Springs Emperor cavalry was surrounded by hundreds of thousands of ghosts, and the aura they gave off was extremely terrifying. Ghosts were remnant souls left behind after a person died, and they weren't very powerful. However, if there were many of them, they would be quite terrifying. The Yellow Springs Emperor cavalry could now control these spirits that had gathered. They could attack or defend, and they could even absorb them to temporarily increase their strength. There were many ghosts, and they could be found everywhere, so the Yellow Springs Emperor cavalry's ability was quite useful. This ability was called the Ghost Lord. There was also a more powerful ability, which was the third ability, which was the ability to control the Yellow Springs. Because the main purpose of his breakthrough was to absorb the Yellow Springs water. Their names had the Yellow Springs in them. Because of this, they also had the ability to control the Yellow Springs water. Now, they could absorb and control the Yellow Springs water below and didn't have to worry about being polluted by the Yellow Springs power. More importantly, they could use their own power to summon the Yellow Springs River elsewhere. The Yellow Springs power was extremely terrifying. It could pollute almost everything and could be said to be the most filthy thing in the world. If they summoned the Yellow Springs River and used it to attack, the power would be terrifying. There was also their fourth ability, Death Disaster. They could gather countless amounts of death energy to change the weather. The sky would be covered by dense death energy, and not a single ray of sunlight would leak out. The ground would also be corroded by the death energy, causing the world to darken, and an aura of death would fill the air. Under the corrosion of death energy, countless plants would wither, countless beasts would die, and the world would become silent, welcoming the end of death. This ability was extremely terrifying. Of course, the Yellow Springs Emperor cavalry couldn't destroy an entire world, but it could destroy an entire region. Moreover, this ability would become stronger as the Yellow Springs Emperor cavalry grew stronger. When it reached a certain level, let alone a world, it could even destroy a few worlds or even tens of worlds. Death Disaster was a disaster of death, but it was even more terrifying than ordinary disasters of death. The 10 Yellow Springs Emperor cavalry were like 10 calamity beasts. In the future, people would describe them like this. They were knights that walked the Yellow Springs with countless ghosts following them. They came to the human world and brought endless death. They were the rulers of death, the enemies of all things in the world, and terrifying beings of the end world. No one in the world had seen them before, because everyone who had seen them had died. This was naturally something that would happen in the future, and there was no need to talk about it. For example, the death disaster had such a large area of effect that it could bring death to an entire region. If it was used in a war, who could resist it? Just thinking about it was shocking. Once this ability was activated, the enemies would fall in droves, and not a single one would be left alive. However, this could only be done if the Yellow Springs Emperor Cavalry's power suppressed the enemy. Otherwise, if they worked together, they might be able to resist the corrosion of death energy. If they were stronger than the Yellow Springs Emperor Cavalry, they might be able to break this ability. However, Death Disaster was definitely a terrifying ability, far more terrifying than the previous three abilities. The previous three abilities' area of effect and power were limited, while Death Disaster was a true disaster. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.